Okay, here we go. Folks, I want to call this meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock, and this is notice is posted in pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of Nassau Bay, Texas will conduct a regular meeting on August 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at Council Chambers, City Hall, 1800 Space Park Drive, Suite 200, Nassau Bay, Texas. I've called the meeting to order. A roll call shows that we are all physically present, so there is nobody not present. And I'm going to dispense with the invocation. There was a little mix-up with St. Paul. They were supposed to do it last month, but we kind of remember we had a little thing called Beryl, a hurricane, and they had people that are really active. They'll be doing the invocation next month. But we also have a very special one, which is we're going to be led by for a pledge of allegiance by the Nauticats swim team champions. So please come on up. Come on up. Come all the way up to the front. Come on in. You guys did great this year. Yeah. Come on in. Is any one of you the more senior captain or anything along that line? I didn't know. Just captains, I think. So champions, yep. So if you would please, would you everyone stand and have the Nauticats lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? It's the flag over here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, everybody. Hey, parents, if you'd like to come up, please. Let's have a good photo op. Get underneath so you can see the Nassau Bay. But parents, come on up. Get a picture. I don't want to be in front because I'm going to go back here. But congratulations, everybody. I know it's most of you guys here. Not everyone, but congratulations. Everybody, a round of applause. This is the champion. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. That's that cute. Oh my God. Seems like it's so familiar. Okay, I'm going to move on to the citizens' comment and public hearing. I'm going to just forewarn because I know there's probably about 3 issues that I know a lot of people may talk about. So I'm going to make sure everyone speaks who wants to speak. There's I see some people that I see from Sapphire, and I also know there's some people from Bay House. I want to make sure anybody who wants to speak speaks. So I'll be sure. But I also going to keep control of the 3 minutes. We're going to give a little bit of a heads up beforehand so you can wrap up on things like that. But just know that we've got some rules, and I just want to make sure we keep moving the meeting on. But I'll make sure everybody is heard. Okay, with that, I want to open up the citizens' comments and public hearing. Please state your name, serial, and rank.
And I'm here, I had made this request originally as at the workshop for the budget hearing, and I would just like to make it official about my request. And what I'm asking is that that they increase the homeowners exemption for seniors Currently, it's at 25,000. The last increase was from 20 to 25,000, and that was made 17 years ago. Okay. The appraisals of homes skyrocketed in 2016, and my house, and when I'm probably majority of the homes in Nassau Bay, that the value has increased to 70%, by 70%. So we're paying a lot more taxes in general. The reason I feel that it's possible to do this at this point in time is because the number of seniors in Nassau Bay is on the decline, which is very obvious by the activities that are going on because we have a lot of families and children. I've lived in Nassau Bay for 35 years. Okay. Also, according to the census, the aging of the city is also down. And obviously, the cost of housing is more of a burden on seniors just because of less incomes. And thirdly, I think Nassau Bay at this time is in a better financial position because of the hospital, the Marriott, for the courtyard, and that whole development. And I just think that, as I said, I'm just requesting that they consider it for this following tax year.
Thank you, Arlene.
My name is Rebecca Flood. He's a serial substitute, 2231, and then E5 is my last name, regular Army. I live at the Sapphire Resort Apartments. My husband and I have lived there since November of 2022. I already had a pre-existing heart condition, but since living there, since just this past April, I've been hospitalized at Houston Methodist 4 times for multifocal pneumonia, pulmonary edema, which is bleeding and inflammation of the lungs, as well as now diagnosed congestive heart failure. And my recent lung scans just showed that they found a 7-millimeter mass in my right lung. It's really disappointing that people who are not only paid to serve our community, but to protect us, like the police chief, code inspectors, building inspectors, people that are responsible for keeping us safe, aren't doing their jobs properly, for whatever reason it is. I'm someone who's always been a proponent of serving my community. I also had to stop working because I could not walk 200 feet without either passing out or having to go back into the hospital and getting intubated or put on oxygen. I have young children also that I can't care for and have to live elsewhere because I can't do my job as a parent or as a caregiver due to the living conditions that we have. Our apartment has been consistently inundated with water intrusions. We have black mold growing out from the ceilings, the walls, the vents. No matter how much we clean, vacuum, have the vents and stuff like that changed, it doesn't help. And it's not something that we should have to be stuck to live with. I've done my own part with all of the requests as a resident that we're required to do for the property. And I've done research as well on the property owners as well. I've spoken with some of their reps face to face multiple times. My husband has an architectural degree and my father is a civil engineer and an engineer for NASA. So they also relayed immediately their diagnosis of being able to tell what the structural problems were for the building. The property owners have refused to do anything about it. And I haven't seen any action from the police chief to do anything about enforcing the law, the code laws that are required and need to be enforced for our building.
30 more seconds.
But that was it.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yep. Thank you, Rebecca. And what was your apartment number again?
1307.
1307.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brittany Washington. I live in Sapphire Resort Apartments. I know I'll be speaking today, so bear with me. Thank you for your patience. I moved into the Sapphire Resort Apartments last year, October, and mid-October. I noticed almost immediately in under 2 weeks, I already was having issues. So I have pre-existing health issues. I have asthma, and I have allergic asthma, meaning that my asthma is induced by my allergies, that being pretty much indoor and outdoor. So I'm allergic to most trees, grass, mold, pollen, dust, and dogs. Whenever it is more hot, it makes it harder for me to breathe. So a lot of times I do get short of breath. I'm prone to upper respiratory infections as is, as well as bronchitis. Whenever I do get one of those, I'm out of work for about a week and a half to 2 weeks, just because, it's hard to work. I also deal with mental health as well, so when I'm not working, I'm more stressed because the builders still do. It is a bit frustrating because I started to have issues at work. With me, I brought my nebulizer. This is a rather large backpack, but you can see that every day I go to school as a substitute teacher, I have to keep my nebulizer with me because a kid might get excited and show me the new body spray that their mom got from Bath and Body Works. And before I can remind them of my asthma allergy that I might have told them in the beginning of class, they're first graders, they're kids. So they get excited, they spray it, all of a sudden it feels like my throat's closing. I started having more and more days like that where I'm missing class and I have to step out because I'm having an asthma attack in the nurse's office. I have my prescription of my liquid albuterol, which I had asthma since I was 17 years old. It got increasingly worse as I got older. I just made 30 this past July 1st. This prescription is for October 21st. Like I said, I moved into Sapphire in mid-October, so it didn't take long. This is only one of my prescriptions. Honestly, every time I got sick, I wasn't able to afford my medicines. I really would just have to persevere through it. I know my time's probably almost out, but I just wish that, I don't know, I wish I could feel safe. Like when I first moved here, I used to live off Westheimer and Gessman. It was very unsafe. I'm not gonna lie, riding motorcycles, I did get put over quite a bit over here, but the police department over here has made me feel the most safe that I felt in a long time as a Black woman. But I didn't know that the very danger would be where I lay my head at night and when I'm the most vulnerable when I'm sleeping. So I just would like that if you guys would just be able to hear us, the sweet soul that just spoke to us. I met her in the leasing office a couple months ago. I haven't heard from her in months. And I got worried because I knew that she had cancer. So I was scared for her. So, and this is my other neighbor that moved in less than 2 months ago. I told him a few days ago. So we all band together, but I just appreciate your time.
Thank you. And what apartment number?
2229.
2229.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brittany.
Hello, my name is Veronica Lee. As she stated, I am her neighbor. I moved in 2 months ago. At the beginning of that time, I had just came home from delivering a newborn. I have a 2-month-old baby. He has no immune system. So right now, he's at home. I'm very frustrated because they have my wall open right now. They have my ceiling open right now. When I asked them to give me temporary placement, they told me I could sit in the office while they work on my unit. It's terrible. I mean, the conditions in there it's inhabitable, period. They need to be condemned. This is not a Seabrook standard, period, living standard at all. If you were to walk these units and see these units, you would wish this upon nobody. I have 2 small children. I don't want my children there. I asked them today, take me out, let me out of my lease. No derogatory marks, no fines, no fees. They told me no, because why? They were doing everything that I was requesting. I'm very livid with it. I'm done with it. You want to know what they call contractors to do? Put on door cabinets, put on doors. I can do it myself. Give me the parts that you have and I'll do it. There's no reason to call a contractor for that. So now I have to wait 3 more days with open exposed walls, with a newborn child and my 5-year-old daughter, because they don't want to put me somewhere place safe while they work on this stuff. It's not right. Somebody has to do something. You have to go over there and walk the units. I don't know who it's going to take or what it's going to take. If it's God forgive me for saying this, if people start dying, I don't know what it's gonna take. Somebody needs to do something about these apartments. It's not well at all. Literally 2 months. 2 months for them to put on cabinets, and they just fixed a one hole in the ceiling, and now they cut in 3 other pieces. Right now in the hallway, you walk down, they have an open exposure to the AC unit, all the drip pans and everything. They have buckets on the floor collecting water. I have mold in my walls. For 3 weeks, they left the breaker box open. It's just not safe being there, and I want out of my lease, and they will not let me out of my lease. So at this point, the only thing now is to go to the city that is in charge of this complex and get somebody to do something. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, it's terrible. Something needs to happen though. We got small children, we have elderly, we have animals. It don't matter who you are or what you are. It's not right. No one should be living like this. And if it was your situation or somebody put y'all in this situation, God forbid, it's terrible. And I do take a fault to it because again, I moved in 3 days after having a newborn. I had nowhere to go. It was my only option. And I tried to work with them for 2 months. I've been trying to work with them. I've tried to do everything I can, work orders, emails. I have photos all the way back to June 8th since I stepped foot in that door. I was really deceived by the office personnel when they told me that somebody was in that unit. Nobody's lived in that unit for 2 years. They told me I couldn't view it prior to me having my child because somebody was in there and it wouldn't be ready to move out. They weren't moving out to the end of May or beginning of June. That's when I moved in right after having my newborn. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can hear it in our voice and our frustration. Something needs to happen over there. It's not right. I mean, they're not livable at all. Mold everywhere, hallways, everything. I'm sorry I passed my time, you guys, but this is like the extent of the seriousness of this, okay?
What
Please.
apartment number are you in?
2224. It's in the back building.
I just want to intervene here because I know there's some things
Oh,
there and I
please.
know there's some people. So the city's already started to do things.
Okay.
So you probably have heard that we organized for an unannounced, inspection of 8 apartments at the Sapphire.
Please inspect them.
So what I'm going to offer, which has been offered, and I want to, again, because a lot of people are here, a lot of people are going to be helped by those actions, is that this allows us to get into your apartment. We aren't allowed into a tenant's apartment without being invited in. There's been people who are organized, and I would actually ask for, if you want to have an invited, unexpected, or unannounced inspection, contact the city manager and give your apartment number, contact information, and things along that line, because we want to either organize as many as we can for as many people who need that. And I want you to hear this. So it's a mechanism that we have found 8 apartments that are unsafe that we believe for public health, and we're going to move to have those tagged out. And that would mean that the apartments should be responsible to help you be in a hospitable place, and it begins the process of getting it fixed. So we've started with the 8, but we by no means want to end. There's some 350, 370 apartments, and if something happens where we find out a common piece of equipment like a chiller system or that is also unsafe, we're going to go after the whole system. So this is action starting to be taken. I want you to, again, hear this so you can sign up and give us permission to come in. Okay.
I open the door.
Because I saw some people walk, and I don't want people to not hear that. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. It's also on our website. It's also on our website. So thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Hi, my name is Kim Shear. I live at Sapphire Apartments, number 1118. My husband and myself moved into the apartments over 2.5 years ago. We just recently, I guess about 5 months ago, updated our lease. We were told that the owners that are coming in, we're going to be making changes and we're gonna make things better. We have been I was bit by a rattlesnake in the year 2000 and had to have 21 vials of Profab on top of the venom that I received from the snake. This produced an inflammatory response, rheumatoid arthritis, and a severe state. I also have a seizure disorder because of that. My husband had contacts with property management and had mold specialists actually come to our apartment as a friend to him, come in and check our vents and everything else, and it was mold. It was a progressive mold. They cleaned for us, just our units there. We did report that to the management team that was there before, the young ladies that are there now. We were told that people would be coming in to help with that they knew that some things were showing up and they wanted to be on top of it. We've had nobody coming in. We could not move at the time of the re-up of our lease was coming up, because we were told that if we did sign a lease, that they would make sure people would come in. My health expenses are above and beyond what even my insurance will cover. Blue Cross Blue Shield can only cover so much. My medications are $3,000 above what my insurance pays per month. So my husband works 2 and 3 jobs. I work and do anything that I can, but it's not enough. And to live in an unsafe place as we do, my service dog, I have a Dachshund that's supposed to be a miniature. However, he's 25 pounds and huge. But he is now showing signs of asthma, and he is my seizure dog. He prevents me from going anywhere or leaving my bed, actually, when he senses that I can have a seizure. He is sick, so I don't even know how much I can depend on him because I'm terrified that he's, getting sick. I understand that you guys are getting in there and you're going to be providing places that we can go to fill until these places get, but I'm terrified that we won't have the money to even move. We need to, because of my health concerns and money that's going out for that. It's fine to say that these things are going to be closed down and stuff, but how are the people that are in our situation, how are we going to be able to move or even find a place? Because when we told them we wanted to leave, they said that we were going to be hit with $3,000 worth of all of those funds. We can't afford that. We can't actually even afford to move. And, as much as we need to, we just can't do it. So I'm not sure what we're even supposed to do at this point. We didn't even know these meetings were taking place. To be honest, we read the stuff about that, but we didn't know that even town meetings were being held. So I'm just asking for a better supply of information to be able to get to them, maybe something that can be posted where we might be able to know about this, and what are resources that might be available to us as far as should we be tagged out or what we're going to do.
One thing I want to mention is that the actions that if we are successful in doing what we believe we will be, is that the evictions and the $3,000 payments will be something that we believe will be rendered, that they won't be able to do that. It still doesn't clear all the problems and things like that, but the big thing we want to do is make sure we fix the problem, because people are being hurt health-wise.
Because we felt like we can't leave because we can't. Even if I had to move out tomorrow, regardless of if they say, okay, well, that's still deposits for that, electricity, all of those things that were covered in our rent there, they're not covered in most of the other parts. So you're talking about deposits and everything else. So I'm just terrified.
I understand. One step at a time.
Yes, sir.
And came, and thank you. All right, appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Alexis Garcia. I live in apartment 1247. I'm here speaking on behalf of my fiance. We both live in the Sapphire Resort apartments. He couldn't be here tonight because he was work, but regarding the last meeting, my fiance spoke about all of the health situations that he's been going through as far as me as well. The living situations that the Sapphire has been causing. The overall issue of living at the Sapphire is the mold, to say the least, and having to get doctors and notes and missing work. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's horrible that we have to miss work and we still have bills to pay. And then also I wanted to point out the fact that I'm still seeing workers showing apartments to new residents. It's almost like they're trying to get in all their financial and money over caring for their current residents that are there suffering in those apartments. And we want to tell them about the living situation. There's only so much that you can do, and you can't interfere with their decision. As well as they're trying to fill the capacities before getting the tags and everything. We are part of the original 8 that are getting tagged. We've been having to stay at my mom's house right now because of us being so sick. I will say having to move and go to a different place there's been 1,000% change. We've been feeling so much better. It's like a whole 360. Like, we've been feeling like new people instead of living in where there's mold and whether we're being sick. We feel 1,000 times better being in a different place. And then I understand we have such a great support system. We have a lot of people that are working together, trying to find different ways we can all work together, find different situations we can improve, and I really appreciate that. I just wanted to put those 2 big things out there. Thank you all for your time.
Thank
for
you,
listening.
Alexis.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Tanisha McNeese. My fiance is a retired veteran. His name is Eddie Jones. And we stayed in the Sapphire Resort for 18 months. And then our lease was up and we moved. While we were in the Sapphire, he had to have 2 surgeries on his eyes. We had a leak in our apartment number was 2216. We had a leak in our apartment consistently in our restroom over the tub. By the AC unit. They fixed it over and over and over again. We had leaks in the hallways. They patched them over and over and over again. And he had to have 2 surgeries on his eye there at the VA hospital. So we have it documented. It was draining consistently and it kept pussing up. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And then finally, the VA hospital said it's not allergies, it's something that's going on. It's something, and they couldn't figure it out. So he couldn't put the drops in there anymore because they deemed the drops out because of the drop lawsuit that they had about the drops in your eyes. So they didn't. So we had to take saline solution, and at least 10 times a day he has to drop it in his eye. But it stays consistently. Since the surgeries, it's gotten a little bit better, but it's still the same. We moved from the Sapphire, we moved across the street to the Bay House. We're waiting on the VA to get us our house, and they're assisting us with our rent now. And when we moved across the street, we assumed that it was a whole lot better. Of course, I've seen the windows. I used to manage a hotel. I worked for Hilton for over 15 years. So I've seen the windows where the green and the black is on the windows and it's growing outside. I'm thinking at first I didn't see it close up until walking through the apartments because I manage an office right behind the buildings of the apartments, the office building right next to the fire department. I manage an office in there. And I seen it and I'm thinking that is mold. It is mold. But it's all the way through the brick. If you walk through the apartments, you can see how bad it is on the brick. You have elderly people. They cleaned the pool. And so we got in the pool this summer. It was an elderly lady. And she said, I've been here for 3 years. The pool was not clean. The other pool is not clean. She said, get your grandkids out of the pool because they're in the pool and they cleaned it, but it might not be safe to be in the pool. This pool has been down for over 2 years. So we got them out the pool and went home. But as far as we've had several maintenance requests, we had several issues. We were with no AC and it was 180 degrees outside. We had no AC. I had to take my 17-year-old daughter, she had an asthma attack 3 times because of having no AC. I called on Sunday and I said, look, if y'all don't get no AC in here, I'm gonna have to get a lawyer because it's so hot in here. We couldn't sleep. We were miserable. They finally came and it was an inconvenience on them, but I called the emergency line and the emergency line said AC is not an emergency, but for my family, it was an emergency. And they came and they put a portable unit in my room, which ACs the whole house. That portable unit is still in there now, and it was in there all summer. Now, during the hurricane, I heard some tumbling on top of the roof, and I don't know but it's cooler now, but that portable AC unit, and every tenant, almost every apartment out there has a portable AC unit or AC unit in the window that they put in, that they had there for 3 to 4 years. It's just not right. We pay our rent on time. We go home. I love Nassau Bay. My husband's, like I said, retired military. We love this area. I walk every morning. We could walk at 4 in the morning and be safe. I walk 2 miles every morning, and I can walk in this neighborhood and feel and be safe. The police department is always present, which is good. You know, I don't care how many people that I see them pull over, they're doing their job and they're making it safe. People don't want to come through here because it's safe, and I love it. I love the area, period. It's very safe, and that's why we moved. That's why we moved here, because of the area and the safety. But living in the arrangements that we're living in, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be here because of the living situation. You can do better. The rent is everybody, even if you pay your rent, the rent is paid. You're charging enough rent to fix stuff. Y'all had management change so many times, and so something is wrong. You can tell because how the management is changing. They're flipping ownership over and over again. Once an owner figures out what they got on their hands, they're pushing it to the next owner, and it's just not right to the citizens. It's not right. And I'm glad that y'all are finally doing something. I didn't know that y'all were having townhouse meetings either, but I'm glad that I know now, and everyone that y'all have concerning both apartment complexes, I will be here.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sparsa, and this is the previous resident of the South Bar Apartments. We live in apartment 1213. Me and my father live over here. I'm speaking on his behalf also. So we found moved in our apartments, and me and my father were wondering for my squad. We were feeling so sick, our lungs was filled with mucus, and we were having trouble breathing and everything. So one day we took a look at the AC vent, and we see plenty of mold going right next to it. And gradually, as time went on, there was more and more just growing everywhere in our apartment. So we decided to go get some lab results, and when we took our lab results, we told the office at the South Bar Apartments, and they told us it's not mold, it's dust. Their words. And so what happened was we brought Mark Stelly from the city, and he also came in and he approved that it was mold. We even had an email from him saying it's mold. Yes, there's mold growing in your apartments. But after Mr. Mark Stelly went and talked to the office of the software apartments, he decided to change his mind. He also said the same thing. There was dust in our apartments. But anyways, we also have video evidence of them coming in our house saying they'll maintain some mold. And well, all they did was just paint over the walls and everything. I have a video of the guy painting literally our walls where the mold was growing. But anyways, we told the apartments there was mold. They ignored us for a few months, and after whenever they came in and did the lab results, they just after we showed our lab results, they even took their own lab results. We have a picture of them taking a piece of the wall and taking their own lab results, but they never provided us with their lab results that they had. And so whenever me and my father decided to move 2 months early from our lease, they charged us $4,000. And also we lost plenty of our new furniture. We bought new couches. We also had a new computer desk, and my dad had to leave us. I had to leave my old bed in the bedroom because there wasn't like anything to take because everything just had mold growing into it. We threw some of our old shoes away because there was mold also growing in the shoe closet. It was just terrible, terrible. And the way they treated us was just awful. And besides them charging us $4,000, they also never ever just came and maintained the apartments. And I had to miss around like 20 to 30 days of school because of it, because how sick I was. It was hard for me to breathe. It was hard for me to do anything. My dad had to take a month off of work, and it's just unfair how they treated us. We were residents around from 2017 to 2020. That's when we decided to leave our lease a little 2 months early, and they decided to charge us $4,000 for not wanting to stay in Mold. Like, who does that to somebody? That's all I like to speak about.
What is your name and apartment number?
My name was Parsa Jalali.
Parsa.
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, Parsa.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for reaching out to me.
Of course. And our apartment number was 1213. I said at the beginning. I'll remind it again.
1213?
Yes, sir. 1213.
Okay. Thank you, Parsa.
Of course, sir.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Venezuela. I'm in apartment 2325 of the Sapphire Resort Apartments. I was here last week and spoke as well. My concern is our apartments have sent out an email today saying that they are going to start going through all the first floor apartments, viewing their apartments, and I guess examining them. But already their solution to some of the people who have spoke and said that they have mold, that they have these issues, their solution is to paint over it and just clean out the vents. So what I am getting anxiety because we have to leave. Like, I can't keep my baby there. He is continuing to cough a phlegm, and he has coughing. He is coughing like spouts in the middle of the night. He wakes up coughing, and I can't get him to stop. I try and give him a sippy cup, and it's like wet, like he needs to hawk up a loogie or something. And I try to, me and my husband try and tell him, like, cough it out, and he doesn't understand. So I already began packing today because I'm like, I don't care what happens, we can't stay here. I'm about to go and have my next baby in October. So this is a great concern for me, and I just pray that it is a concern for you guys as well, that you are here. I know you guys are already taking action. I don't know exactly what you guys are doing so far, what you plan to do, but I just pray to God that you guys continue to move forward with this process, because their solution is to paint, clean out the vents, cover it up, pretty much just cover it up. And it's just not right. I am worried, like, to say anything to them. Are they going to try and evict me? I'm a stay-at-home mom. My husband is working 2 jobs. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. And we're trying to get a house. Like, if we have this on our credit report, this is our livelihood. This is our life. This is my family. I am gonna stand up for my family. This is our future. These problems are ongoing. I've noticed these since we moved into these apartments. We've been here for 21 months now, and since coming to these apartments, I've had so much like flare-ups of allergies. I wake up in the morning and I will sneeze. As soon as I wake up, 20 times in a row, I kid you not. And my nose, I'm constantly blowing my nose all throughout the day. I have to use my inhaler. I hope that there is a solution that we are able to see at the end of this 10-day mark or whatever the process is. Because I can't stay here, and I feel terrible.
some of these people, their apartments, I see photos and videos I've seen are worse than mine, and I can't even believe that these people have to live in that. It's growing on their furniture. Like it's terrible, and they have children. So I just pray that you guys continue to just go the extra mile, stand firm for us. And I thank you for what you're already doing already, and appreciate all your work. And this is a beautiful, I know everybody's like, this is a beautiful place to live. I loved moving here. I moved here I was in South Houston, then I moved to Seabrook, and I moved here because I'm like, the water, I'm from Florida. So I felt like at home here, but by the water, I see the palm trees, it's a beautiful neighborhood. I walk with my son, and so yeah. But I think you guys. I want to mention too, because I don't think anybody's mentioned, but there is rats too. There is cat-sized rats. Cat-sized rats. I kid you not. All over by the dumpsters. There has been tenants who have seen them even in their house, in their oven. When they first moved in, there was rat in somebody's oven. But yeah, it's just freaky and scary. So thank you guys. Again, my name is Kaylee, and I'm in 2325.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hello, my name is Carissa. I'm in unit 2327 currently. I originally moved into the Sapphire Resort into unit 1110 originally. And like most of the residents here from Sapphire, I too had issues with mold and gradual spots appearing on my vents. I then saw it disperse over my clothes, books. I do work from home. I have an emotional support animal as well. And with me working from home, I don't escape it. I work for several doctor's offices across Arizona, California, Texas, and I have to be very vigilant and careful with what I am typing and telling individuals. I am over their pharmaceutical cells, and I suffer from like brain fog. I too am coughing as soon as I wake up. When I brought this issue to the current leasing office agent in the building when I was living in 1110, I was told that they're gonna come out and just clean the vents. In regards to the lost clothing items and books, my insurance will cover that. They have no responsibility of that. They scheduled cleaners, contractor, like outside of their maintenance to come. I actually had a fellow resident at the time in that building to watch my dog as we had to vacate for 2 hours as they cleaned. I came back in and, with the vents blowing out black mold, I brought to their attention that, the bedroom is carpeted. I think y'all should clean that too. That became a whole nother ordeal. They finally got someone to come and clean that carpet, and they left it wet. It was wet for days. And then next thing I know, more clothes have mold on it. Had to throw it out. When I brought it to the leasing agent attention and tried to speak to them to get out of my 1110 lease early, they told me that would be considered a broken lease. So I would have to stay the term of my lease. By that time, unfortunately, my pet had vet issues. I'm paying out of pocket. She fell ill. And by the time my lease was up, all the money that I did have in savings, I pretty much spent it to vet visits, my own healthcare visits, and I could only afford to move into currently 23, 27. Well, yet again, I'm having issues. I've noticed fluctuations in the AC. It'll blow like moist, warm air, and then gradually cool off during the day and then go back to blowing warm, moist air. And I am currently in fear of everything happening again. I lost my original furniture. I just bought my new couch, my new bed, and I'm not in the position to have to start over again. Again, with being in pharmaceutical sales, my wages are fluctuating at the time, and I'm just really concerned. My dog has begun wheezing, and it's just her and I. That's my buddy, and like everyone else, I feel safe. I'm often walking the trail along the water, and unfortunately, that has stopped because I just don't have the energy anymore. And I know someone else spoke on fear of like retaliation. I do fear that as well. I also would like to speak on behalf of my sister, who's also in the Bay House. From the moment she moved in July, that leasing office encouraged her to sign on and move in early to a unit that had black mold. She has been asking for them to clean it ever since she moved in, and we are now in August. She moved into that unit the first week of July. So I fear for our health in both of these facilities. Like most people, I moved this direction because of the water. It's beautiful. And, I thought I found like just a great deal and a place to live, but not really. So I do appreciate your time and for helping us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sonia King. I live in Bay House Apartments. I'm coming up here again, I came up here last time due to not being prepared last time. But like I said last time, my apartment was involved in the most recent fire. My apartment was 86. It was right in front of the origin of the fire, which was apartment 85. That night we barely had like an hour of power back in the apartment complex, the hurricane. From what I heard from sources, from different sources, that someone cooking meth with fireworks was the cause of the fire. And the fire department has said that there were tests done, but me living there, being there all day, I know no tests have been done, and there are no documents proving that these tests have been done. That same night, I was taken in an ambulance that night, and there is both my husband and I, and there is no report of us ever taken into the ambulance. I have the report right here, and there's only 2 people that supposedly were taken. I'm willing to show any hospital reports showing that proof. From my end, in that fire, both my husband and I have lost thousands and thousands of dollars in the fire. And management is telling us that our renter's insurance, that they don't help with anything of our belongings, of us, doesn't help us. And they refuse to give us their information for us to talk to them, to the insurance. I tried getting help from FEMA, tried contacting FEMA from both the hurricane, because my car was damaged from the hurricane, and from the fire.
but it seems that but the address isn't even on their radar. So they have no record of a hurricane or fire happening in that area. The thousands upon thousands of dollars lost in the fire that we could be using is for clothes, because we did lose clothes, like practically all of our clothes tonight. I was able to scrounge up a couple of mine. My husband had none, and what I'm wearing now is from family. For medical bills, for the ambulance, and for the hospital that night, and my husband and I do need to go to a doctor because we can no longer stay in one building in one place a certain amount of time without being on edge, because we think that's going to happen again. And I mean, I think we're both Sapphire and Bay House are having the issues with maintenance. They're taking forever, or they just forget that we have things done in our apartments. I have plenty of things that need to be done there. And I know your priorities are Sapphire Apartments at the moment, like you had told me last time. But I just need to make sure that these people are held accountable. So I, my husband, and future people living in these apartments don't have to go through this anymore. Thank you.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's come up here to speak. It does take a lot of courage to come up here and speak, I know. And I know the last meeting, somebody came up here and bullied some of the people who spoke and tried to tell them that there was no meth, that what they heard from the police telling them that there was a meth exposure, they had to be decontaminated, that they didn't see that they didn't hear that they didn't go through the decontamination protocol and sit out in their car all night while hazmat was out there. They didn't see any of that, they were told. So I hope that anybody who wants to come up here and bully somebody or bully somebody online, can please just refrain and try to respect these people's, courage to come here and speak. So I'm going to speak on behalf of a couple people who couldn't come here from the Bay House because they're too sick. We had a fire at the Queen's Court townhouses, and it was a oil fire on the stove. It was quite a big fire. It burned down the whole kitchen and went all the way up to the second floor and burned through the roof. So the people were reporting to me, because I'm on the Queen's Court HOA, that they were remediating the place without any permits and just painting over everything. So I called Perry Henderson, who was code at the time. He has now resigned, sadly. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll go over there and try to make sure that everything happens." So he stopped them from remediating, and they were able to make sure they had their permits and remediate properly. So that way there wasn't paint over some burned wires that could have burned the whole strip of condos down, right? So when this fire happened, somebody called me over there and said, "Hey, they're remediating this fire, and there was a meth explosion, and you need to come over here and look at this." And I looked at it. First I heard it was fireworks, and I looked over, oh my gosh, this was a huge explosion. Actually, I had done an open records request at Friendswood, and they had said there was a huge explosion that engulfed 10 apartments. So it was a big explosion. That young lady just told us a little bit about living next door to that. In any event, the people downstairs, what I was worried about was, have they tested anything for chemicals? Because she was told she was going to move back in 2 weeks. And I didn't think you could remediate that place in 2 weeks. If there was some kind of chemical or meth explosion, the fire officials on the scene said there was some kind of a chemical accelerant. So whether it was meth or a chemical, I was thinking, you need to test for that and make sure that this place is safe before they move people back in 2 weeks, and that they don't paint over it. And it looked really unstable. It looks very sketchy. It's burned very, very badly. And I thought 2 weeks, that's kind of scary. So I called Barry and I said, hey, you can hold it here, maybe, try to make sure they're not remediating it. He said, Webster is doing that. I can't go there do anything. The police told me I need a warrant to go in there and test for anything. So I said, okay. So I did an open records request to Webster and said, like, who's in charge of this fire? Also, because some of the people were saying they wanted the FEMA aid, and without a fire report, they can't file for the FEMA aid. So I was trying to get that information too. And they wanted to talk to whoever was doing the investigation. So they told me, no, we're not doing the fire investigation. Nassau Bay is. The Webster Police said that, and the Webster Fire Department said that. They also said that they had not tested for any chemicals that night or since then. So I did call Barry and say, what do you think? He said, well, tell these people to call Tony. So there was several apartments that reached out to me. One was, they live right next door, 82, right next door. Their door is so burned that there's a latch on the doors that you have to close it up. There's a child living there, and they had never been contacted by any fire marshal to talk to them about the drugs that they saw or the situation that was there. Downstairs was 72. He came and talked last week. He was the one that, the guy who reported to the police that he saw the meth lab and then ran. He was the one that grabbed the fire extinguisher and ran up into harm's way to put the fire out. He was told that there was a suspected meth lab. He told you guys that last week, and that, they had him through a decontamination protocol. He was not contacted at all by any fire marshal to talk about that or do any investigation, and that they also were being moved around and kind of messed around by the management, who's now raised the rent on those people. The woman who was next to that is sick now. She was here last week, but she's still having kidney failure. And then the other people who came to me were right downstairs, apartment 66. They told me that they saw the fire when it started on the couch. And he was also a hero. He ran up there and tried to put out the couch. Both him and Chris, who was here last week, were there squatting down, and when the explosion happened, and they helped get people out of the building. They were both told that it was a suspected meth explosion and a chemical accelerant, and were put through decontamination protocols.
You're at over 5 minutes.
Okay, so anyway, I got the fire report today, which has been closed, and it says on here, undetermined causes. So not even fireworks. It also says there was no chemical test done, and there's no evidence of the decontamination protocols, or actually no report of the decontamination protocols. So what it is that people don't know if they're safe over there. I think there needs to be tests that need to be done to let them know if they're safe or not, and let them know what happened, what did they do when they did the decontamination to them. At least let these people know what happened to them and if they're safe. Thank you.
Hello, City Council, Mayor. Real welcome to Nassau Bay.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Scala. In June this year, we had our second event planned for Camp Hope, a special outreach for the veterans that this is about veterans here in this group too. And because of the floods and rain, we were not to do that. So we postponed it to next month. We're going to have a fun paddling event in the pavilion. Invite everybody to come and join us, grab some hot dogs, and teach everybody how to paddle. And then in June, October 26th, the veterans we can't open join us. Last year, we paddled from the Hilton all the way around to the marina in Nassau Bay. It was 5 miles. You guys were there, the fire department got a lot of great support. The Coast Guard brought their boats out. This year, we're going to do the event on Lake Nassau, which is 33-acre lake, safe and closed lake. So we're inviting the community to bring in kayaks and volunteer and bring in kayaks. We'll have hot dogs and fun event. So we're expecting to get at least 15 veterans from Camp Hope. Yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
At least 15 veterans from Camp Hope. Last year, there were around 4 people, and they were staff members from Camp Hope. They said later, I said, how did you guys like this? We had a barbecue and everything. They said, great, Jim, we were testing you, see if you can do it. I said, that's okay, I was testing you guys too. And so they're a faith-based organization trying to prevent suicide among veterans. So we're having some posting online.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, this is Jeff, one of our team members, Jeff Joker.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pete Soroka, 18226 Nassau Bay Drive, 23-year resident in Nassau Bay. First, what I want to say, very sorry. These are heartbreaking stories to hear about what you all are going through and living through in those conditions in the Sapphire and Bay House. Nobody in this country should have to live under those conditions. Right? So, again, very, very sorry. What I'd like to speak about is, so we made it through Barrel, thank goodness. And there's a few things that come to my mind that are most memorable about making it through Barrel. The first one is my wife wanting coffee first thing in the morning on Monday morning while the storm and the winds are still 100 miles an hour. And as I'm pulling out of my driveway to go up to McDonald's, I got shingles that are landing on the hood of my car. But McDonald's was open. God bless them. They were open. It was amazing. And I'm so thankful. I see a nod in your head that we had a drive-through restaurant at McDonald's was open. That was the first thing that's stuck in my mind and in the memory of Barrel. Second was Gloria Day, right? Gloria Day, amazing. Doing the cooling center, having their chain gang going and cleaning up people's lawns and cutting their, that was amazing too. Third thing was Mayor Phil Johnson. As I'm driving around, I see him in his golf cart with his lovely wife, Kathy, and his grandson talking to the neighbors, and in particular, the elderly, making sure they're okay, and they know what was gonna happen. And I was driving by, Phil was talking to one elderly gentleman and telling him, don't worry, bag it up, they're gonna take it, and that's exactly what did happen. So those were a few things, and I know there's a lot going on, but I definitely want to thank the mayor, Paul Lopez, City Council, Chief Tom George, Rod Malinar. Rod was cooking for the firehouse there in the command center. And I'll tell you what, we had 100-mile-an-hour winds that were taking the shingles off my roof. I didn't know my roof was going to stay on, but I knew that I had our police and I had our firemen there if we needed them. Right, so we're fortunate and blessed that we had that. So want to mention that, and then what I also thought was, you know what, it would have been nice to have Panda Express and Chipotle in the Lubies, right? And I would like to have council revisit that, because I can tell you that now that we've been through a hurricane, and we could have used them, and I think if you ask the Sapphire people as well, probably would have liked to have a place to go at Panda Express and Chipotle. So I would ask you to reconsider and maybe re-vote for the Nassau Bay City Council. You know, there's a saying in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, chapter 6, verse 4, that says, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. This deal is still on the table. Yesterday, I spoke to the developer, Ryan Ramey, who's in Portland, Oregon, and I asked him, I said, is that deal still on the table with Panda Express and Chipotle? And he said, yes, it is. I said, would it be okay if I mentioned that tomorrow night? I'm going to speak at City Council. If I mention that to council, so if they might reconsider and vote yes to this. And he said yes. Now, there was some talk that there was a restaurant that was interested in going in there. Not true. They have received not one call about there is nothing happening at Luby's. 5 years now, 5 years. And we're going through the summer, right? We're burning through August. We're going to be burning through this year. And then we're going to be next year. And I'm afraid I'm going to be here a year from now at this time saying, hey, would you reconsider on the Luby's, because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So I really hope that we would reconsider that. And because there's nothing happening. This was even before the hurricane and before, the Sapphire tragedies going on there. But there's no communication. No one has come to the developer. No one from our city has called them. It's been dead. Nothing is happening. I attended the EDC, that stands for Economic Development Council, the last meeting, nothing happening. Not one word about the Luby's project. So the city's not doing much. God bless them. Paul's acting city manager as well. He is so busy. The priority that he's working on is $1.5 million water line that we desperately need, right? Besides water and electricity, there's nothing more important, right, to the city other than safe living conditions, for crying out loud as well. So I think we have a lot going on, and I appreciate all the work that's being done by Paul and the mayor and council. But I would just ask you if you would just reconsider and voting yes, so that we can develop and put 2 new buildings in for Chipotle and Panda Express. And I'll leave you with this. So over on Bay Area Boulevard and Space Center, there's a new little drive-through little shop. I'm not gonna call it a restaurant, but it's called Swig, like take a swig. And they do non-alcoholic drinks. My wife's favorite, since we walk our dog in that Bay Area Park, we drive by that quite a bit. It's right next to the Goodwill and the Arby's, and they squeezed it in there.
And a liquor store.
Is there a liquor store there? Okay. And they squeezed it in there. It's not easy to navigate, but you know what? Live with it, deal with it. We live in Houston, the 4th largest city in the United States, with 4.5 million people. And we've got room for this project. So they opened Swig, and it's got cars there. They're making it happen. So I would just say, you know what?
I gotta start winding you down, buddy.
Okay, I'm in the home stretch now. So I would just say, and I think about a hurricane, I think about all the people here, that if we had had Panda Express and Chipotle, we'd have another place to go to eat, and I'm in favor of that. And I think there's a lot more people in Nassau Bay that would raise their hand, because I talked to them, in favor of that.
I'll wind you down.
Okay, all right, thanks for hearing.
I second that combination.
Hello again, council. This is Eric Carson, former resident of Nassau Bay, Sapphire Resort Apartment 2112. Not to bring it down from, I guess, the Luby's and Chipotle and everything, but I guess I wanted to kind of do something different than last time and kind of tell the story from once we got into Nassau Bay, into the Sapphire Resort Apartments, till we inevitably left. So when we got in, it's a beautiful town. Right across the street from NASA, amazing. It's like a dream. You know, you got the water, $1 million homes, beautiful. Moving in, you know, at first it was great. It was me, my fiance, we have 2 small boys, 3 and 6, and our grandmother, who's 70 with lupus, living with us. As soon as we moved in, we started to kind of slowly get the idea that there was something a little bit off, right? We noticed that the maintenance would run slow. We started getting very congested. And at that time, I was working out every day before I moved over, and, you know, I was healthy and everything else. We started noticing a smell pretty soon after we moved in, and it was a very strong smell of mildew and mold, water damage. It's, you know, unmistakable. If you have the nose for it, you know what it smells like. And we asked, you know, the maintenance, that was our very first maintenance order a 1.5 years ago, was for that. And we were just told, oh, it's just an old building, it's water. You know, if you have a dehumidifier, recommend using it, which we did. We went and got a dehumidifier and we started using it. Didn't really help. just like a similar story, have her name, I apologize. Kaylee. With her child who's coughing to death, you know, like basically just constantly coughing in the middle of the night. That was happening to all of us. We were constantly getting sick, and my two boys just coughing in the middle of the night, choking as if like they've got something like they're choking on. And we didn't know what to do. Over time, I kept asking them, you know, to come look at the vents and everything. Had this black spotting that was growing onto it. And we kept telling us the same thing. It's just dust. It's just dust or mildew or whatever it was. Well, some of y'all know we got a mold inspector to come out. The first time it was just to do some air samples. Those air samples were extremely high of very toxic mold spores, inside and outside of the apartment, very high, though they were significantly higher inside. We made several requests for them to come out to remediate the mold, and as explained from somebody else, they just spray it, assuming kills, right? The white spray, which, as the expert mold, inspector told me, that won't do anything. If there's an active growth, it will continuously grow. We've had rats in our pantry, eating our food, pooping everywhere. Cockroaches that just would not go away, and every time the exterminators would come out, they would tell us, there's nothing we can do, it's the whole apartment. So we got them out, I think, six times, and nothing happened. You know, full of cockroaches, rats. I had to stop the rat issue myself by finding the holes they were coming out of. Maintenance wouldn't do that. In fact, maintenance request said that we should leave out food for them, so that way they keep out of our food. Yeah, they did that. These same maintenance people who also laughed at me and my fiance's face when we said there was mold. And we proved to them, no, there is. Slowly, we've gotten more and more unhealthy, and now I'm on an inhaler. I'm asthmatic, which I was not previously. It is hard for me to sleep. I'm very insomniac. I'm an insomniac now, needing a CPAP machine, which I've never had to even dream of needing to use in the past. Did one sleep study, and they said, yes, you absolutely need one. I've taken off many days of work for just pure illness of me and my family. And we've gotten a second report, which was swabs, air tests, inside out, dust, and that was positive for the second, third, fourth, and fifth worst molds on this planet, growing in my children's bedroom, in our bedroom, in our bathroom, in our living room, in our entire apartment, and I'm sure the entire apartment complex. It is sad. A lot of these molds are responsible for many deaths in the past, including, I believe it was explained to me, the infant death crisis in the 90s. Strachiophocus or something like that. I don't know the terms. I'm not, I'm a mold inspector, right? So Stachybotrys, I think that's the one. But we immediately tried to move out. I had to find a house, and now I'm in debt above my knees just to escape that hole. But I think now that we're out, we're getting healthier. We're starting to feel better. A little bit of lasting effects, I'm sure. traumatized, I'm sure. But there was one night where I was just helpless. I was sick, I couldn't pack or anything. I just asked God, like, like, give us a sign if this is exactly what we need to do. And the power surged that right then and there, and it has never done that entire week, that entire day, did not do that at all. And, that shows that God's on our side, So if God's with us, who can stand against us? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Here we go. You did the head fake. I thought you were heading up.
Hey, but I'm from Marcus McCorvey, and I stay at the Sapphire Resort. I'm going to make sure I speak. I just want to talk about some of the experience I had past couple of weeks. I'm a traveling welder, and this past weekend I was sick. I didn't know I was going to work, but due to the mobile and stuff, and I had put maintenance requests in for it probably 2 or 3 times, and the third time I was actually off work that week, and I didn't have to fly anywhere. And I was so thinking I was going to go out, I'm going to sit here and watch them see what they're doing, so I turned on Call of Duty and watch them from my living room. The guy cuts it, he just cuts the thing out, similar to what she was saying. He just cuts it out. Well, first he pokes a hole in and see if water will come out. And he cuts it out, he put it new up. So he handed me a piece of paper, like, oh yeah, and I was like, well, why is there water leaking in my roof? And he had really done to tell me. I want to say the roaches. We got roaches, the rats. I'm experiencing everything, there's so. But yeah, the mold thing, like, it's kind of scary because with it being an event, our AC kicks on, that's what we're breathing. And, and it's kind of sad to see that everybody's going through that. Like I said, everybody's sick. Like, I talk to people going to the car, I hear people coughing up stuff. I cough up stuff, and AC doesn't really work. I know it's been time where I had to check, go out there and check it to the Hilton right there some nights because I want to be, kind of cool when I sleep. And sometimes just sitting there and sweat, just waiting on something. I don't know what to say. But this whole thing caught me today too, so I wasn't prepared for it. But yeah, I just hope we can, get something done by that. Like I say, it seems like y'all get the job.
What apartment number are you?
2211.
2211.
Yeah, 2211. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to be like I said, maintenance. It's not getting done.
Anybody else?
Mark Edmond, 2025 Harbor Drive, been a resident of Nassau Bay almost 40 years. Before I talk about the marine ordinance, I moved here because of Balboa and Sapphire. I lived there from 85 to 90. And at that time, it was a decent place to live, reasonably clean. And then after I moved out, that's when we started hearing stories about the downward trend. I know more about the ownership than I'd like to forget about of that complex. How many times it's been sold and the tricks they go through to avoid repercussions. It's a paper trade. And I talked to you all day about the New Jersey syndicate that owns it and how they avoid repercussions. So Bill, we want to sit down and talk about it.
I'm aware of it too. Very aware.
I'm here for the marine ordinance. I'm sorry it's not been brought up. Obviously, these issues are much more important that you're talking about. I have self-compassion. I feel terrible about this and something needs to be done. But our city is a waterfront city across from Johnson's Station. And in a few minutes, council is going to vote on an ordinance that's going to drastically change how we handle our waterfront. A lot of people moved here, me included, moved here for the waterfront, the freedom to use that waterfront, the safety of skiing, jet skiing, and relaxing in a calm lagoon, well protected away from the masses. But this ordinance is your second reading and it will be passed. It won't be overturned. I know you're going to appoint a committee and that committee will come up with recommendations and just maybe they'll come up and agree with what you're saying. I don't think so. So this ordinance is gonna stand, it's gonna change. Now, to give you some history, two individuals, maybe three, 20 years ago, got the waterway shut down all the way to Davis Road. No wake, no activities whatsoever. And it was done with somewhat the permission of council and under the eyes of the current mayor at the time and the police chief. And then none of them did anything to prevent the waterway from being shut down. Within 2 years, that entire council had been elected out, the city manager terminated, the police chief dismissed. Because we got a group led by Don Matter, did an excellent job of bringing in people that saw the value of the waterfront and looked over the self-interest of those individuals who just didn't want people making noise and creating small wakes. It was self-serving at worst for them, and just peace and quiet they envisioned. But this ordinance is going to do the same thing. Now, I know you're going to allow for some activity in the morning, but essentially, anybody who wants to do anything afternoon is going to have to jet ski on Clear Creek. You think that's a safe place to go? I got another thing coming for you. Same about the main lake or Clear Creek or Taylor Lake. There's no safe skiing outside this lagoon. So why the rush? I know you're concerned about Labor Day and you're worried about the hundreds of voters that will come in Labor Day. We have a $500,000 police boat, probably got $1 million invested in the equipment. That is an imposing police boat, and I initiated that back when I was mayor because I saw how ineffective that little boat was when they were trying to get the attention of our voters. And they did a great job of what they had, but we need something bigger. Boy, we got it. And just seeing that boat on the waterway, it changes behavior because it's visible. And all they need to do on Labor Day weekend and get a reserve officer, there's plenty of them, reserve officers are full-fledged police officers that serve at no charge just for volunteer hours to keep their police. There are plenty of them out there, and you get a great volunteer fireman. I know we have them, Matt. And Rod, I know we have many of them that will do that. Put them out there for 6 hours a day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you will not have a problem. But once that boat's out there, people behave. So what kind of started this ordinance? Well, a couple of months ago, we had one voter out there with a very loud speaker. He was playing vulgar, loud lyrics and blasting across the lake. And I know I heard from my neighbors. I live down there. And we were able to get in touch with that one voter. We educated him on what he had done. And he was remorseful, even called my other neighbor and apologized. That voter is still actively out there, but he has never turned his radio up since then. Education. And right back in 2014, when we were having a lot of votes coming in because it's a great place to locate, we knew we couldn't enforce it. We just didn't have the police power to get out there and spend the time citing folks for doing things they shouldn't be doing. So our volunteer fire department and our police department got in that boat and put the lead list together. We handed it to every voter out there. They're the usual suspects. The same voters every year come back. And once you reach out to them, let them know the rules of our lagoon, they change their behavior and we did not have any problems. Well, we got new voters now, our new families. Of course, the pandemic, everybody went out and bought a boat because that was the biggest thing everybody. And all the voters that don't know the rules of the road out there. Education worked because we didn't have the manpower for the ordinance. So you pass this ordinance again today, you're going to task chief with the responsibility of enforcing it. Again, that's going to be expensive at best, and we more need our police officers patrolling Nassau Bay, not the waterway. And keep in mind that waterway is only busy basically 3 weekends a year, 3 holiday weekends: Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. I know, I live on the water and I see it. That's when the biggest collections of boats are out there. That's when things get a little hectic and get crowded and a little dangerous. But outside of that, you'll never see more than 20, 30, 40 boats in that lagoon on any given weekend day. So 90% of the time, that waterway is open. It's safe for families to use and for children to learn to ski. Ashley, I know you learned to ski out there, and I taught a lot of people to ski. I even taught a prince, a royal prince from Europe, how to water ski in our lagoon. And I've jet skied there. I've taught many people how to jet ski, and it's the safest place to go. But this ordinance will shut that down at the times that we want to operate that. So I see my time.
Let you go over just like you think. I lost control of the 3 minutes a long time ago.
I'm going with the flow of everybody else. So my ask is, why rush into this? make it, of course, one thing you gotta do is adapt it because of wake surfers. I know Haley brought that up. These are boats that throw out big wakes, they surf behind. This ordinance that you passed will allow that in our waterway. Right now, it's not allowed because it's a no excessive way.
Because people want it, but that's not correct.
Okay, well, we can debate that later, but,
That's right.
but anyway, I'm asking you, let the committee you're going to give the power to come up with recommendations. Let them do their job. Go review the data, make it a data-driven decision on what we want to do, because this is going to be a huge impact to what we use our waterway from. So don't tell the committee it's already done and go out and try to reinvent it. If you're going to take the time to do it in a committee, which I think is an excellent approach, then let them have their day, let them have their say. In the meantime, get the voters out for Memorial Labor Day weekend and make it safe. But there's no need to rush. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Going once? It's only been an hour and 25 minutes. Going twice? The public hearing's closed. It is 8:27. So moving on to the next, which is the council members' comments. Paula?
I want to begin by saying that we all deserve a safe place to live. And that's important to me. So I really appreciate the courage that those of you that came forward, especially those that know there might be repercussions. That takes a lot of courage. So I'm hoping that we get the word out that people should come to our city manager, tell us their apartment number, and invite us in. That's the only way we can document what's going on in the department. We can't come in without a search warrant. We can't send anybody in to check. So we have these apartments, but we would like to, I would like to expand it to be sure that everybody has a safe place to live. So if you will spread the word to call Paul, give him your number, tell him what time is convenient so that he can form a group to go in, we can certainly move forward. So it's every apartment complex. We have Bay House, we have Sapphire, we have apartments over by the hospital. All of them in our community should be a minimum standard of health and safety for our people. So I commend the people that came to speak this council meeting, the past council meetings, and they have the courage to give us their information and allow us to come in. Because legally, we have to have a pathway, which doesn't really seem right. We have to have a pathway to move forward with the legal aspects to do what you need us to do and what we need to do. So I appreciate that. I just want to say a little bit about the hurricane. I flew in the night of the hurricane. The fire was happening. The city, I left again, this came back. The city is looking really great. So I appreciate all the cleanup efforts, the time people took, the staff, how hard they've been working. I know that the fire department is volunteer and they do the best job they can, and I really appreciate their efforts. The police department are patrolling our streets and keeping us safe, which is not easy to do when the city's out of electricity and we're all struggling and their families are struggling. So I want to commend our staff and our volunteers and our city manager. And I actually was out of town, called Phil and said, I'm worried about medical issues for people on my street. He said, give me the numbers, I'll go check on them. So I know that Phil actually went, knocked on their homes, their doors, and said, are you okay? And got the correct answers. So we have a great city, and we can't allow anybody to live in a condition that is unsafe, especially for the children.
I definitely want to thank everyone who's come out and stood at the podium and spoken, because I know that it's not easy to come and stand in front of a bunch of strangers and have to speak your mind like that and really share your issues. it's important for us to hear what's going on. I promise you that when we have closed door sessions, we've been talking about these things, and we're trying to find the best path forward. So thank you so much for showing up and being brave like that for so many reasons. I really do appreciate it. I also want to thank our first responders, both the paid and the volunteer ones that we have. I think that that's phenomenal, just hearing how safety was the #1 priority for people moving here. Unfortunately, it's just sad to hear that you can't even be safe where you lay your head down, unfortunately. But the response time of the fire department we have, everybody, I really do appreciate the services that we have in this city for our first responders. And it makes me very proud to be a Nassau Bay resident. Another thing that makes me proud is those naughty cats and the champ swimmers. I think that, I'm biased, but that I really do think that the swim team is a really good part of what makes Nassau Bay such a good community. It's the older kids teaching the younger kids all the swim strokes, working with them all summer. It is really cute to see the high school kids working with a 6-year-old and teaching them how to do a backstroke. And then the parents that come out and they volunteer their time to have your kid on the swim team. Those parents dedicate so much time to stand out there and time all the kids and all their races and work in the concession stands and do everything else and just really put together such a great swim team. We stand out among the others in our league around here, and we just celebrated 60 years of Naughty Cats, so very proud to be part of that organization. Speaking of kids, school is starting for a lot of kids, and the buses are going to start running tomorrow. And it's going to be slow for the first couple weeks. Please be really careful out there. A lot of kids, especially since it's their first time riding these buses, they don't know what they're doing, running across the streets. Just be patient and remember that you were a kid too once. If you rode a bus, just be patient for those kids. Looking forward to that. Kids going back to school and hopefully having a good time there too. And let's see, that's all I got. Thank you.
We have very limited comments here. I think that the residents of the Sapphire and Bay House, they've done an intervention tonight and really kind of brought to our attention a lot of issues that are going on. And we're here every month. Please come back. Hopefully you don't have to. Hopefully it's resolved before it's meeting after meeting after meeting. Most people do everything we can in our power to help out. This is truly a great community, so I'm glad to have you all in the community. And you shouldn't have to live in those kinds of residents. So we will do everything in our power to help out, obviously. With regard to the fire chief and everybody that's here with the fire department, I mean, I went out there probably within 30 minutes, I guess, of it happening, and the response was just phenomenal. It was bad. It could have been a lot worse. So I just want to say thanks to you guys. They're volunteers. They're residents of our community, just like everybody else. And they go out there and fight fires. When people aren't able to, or people need assistance, they're going to be there. They're the ones that are on water. They're the ones that will come, help you if there's a medical emergency, and hopefully there isn't any more. But if there is a fire, they'll be here to help out. So thanks to everybody that's here from the fire department. Speaking of buildings, I don't want to let it drop off the docket here. The Kingstown Court property, if Paul was going to give an update tonight, can you give us any kind of where we're at in a couple of weeks since we had that last meeting about that. I definitely don't want that to go to the wayside. And then also, just to reiterate, Johnny's champions again, which is great. My daughter's been on the team 2 years now, and she's two-time champion, so she's very happy about that.
More so.
Yeah, she got her ribbons last night. We forgot to collect those throughout the year, so she's very happy about that. She got her medal. She was very excited to show that off as much as she did today. But outside of that, I just want to say thank you for everybody that's come out. We've had a great response to kind of unfortunate issues that are going on in our community. So thank you all for everything.
First of all, thank you to all the residents that came to speak tonight. As everyone has said, it's not easy to stand on the podium and speak publicly. I work in healthcare, so I'm very passionate about people's health and safety. And so we're going to do everything we can to help you guys and get to the bottom of this. I want to say thank you to our fire department. We've already talked about the fire, but I want us to remember that there were lives saved that night. Things take time. Investigations take time. And I fully trust our fire department to do the honest and just and right thing. And they responded and saved lives that night. So thank you very much. For the city cleanup, thank you, Paul, for all your organization efforts and getting all the debris off our roads. It took a little bit of time, but the city is looking great and the grass is growing back and roofs are being fixed. And so hopefully we'll continue that work as many people are still dealing with repairs. As far as public works, I know we had a recent water line breaks. Thank you to them for working through that. And not a cat's eye, missed the award ceremony because I was out of town yesterday. Sad about that. But it looks like a fun time, and congrats to them, and thank you guys.
Sarah?
Well, obviously, I mean, I think we're all super, I don't know, I think, touched by kind of the stories that we heard about the Sapphire. I mean, I walked around those apartments, at least the first, I think, 6 apartments, I walked through them. And there's a serious problem. And people are living in bad conditions. And you have to realize that us as a council, you have to be patient with the process. You know, there's I'm an attorney, so I know that everything has to go down the right road. You have to go through the right process to get to where you want to go. And we don't want you guys living in those conditions, and we want to do everything we can to help. So and thank you for being brave enough to come and talk. And the only way we know about these conditions is by people approaching us. And so if you have somebody else in the complex that's dealing with similar issues, I would suggest that you tell them to go through the same avenues that you did to get in touch with us. You know, as far as the Bay House fire, that was a big fire, and you guys did an incredible job, and you saved lives, and you got people out of danger, and I really appreciate everything you did, and I don't want you to feel unappreciated for your efforts. I mean, I think you did an incredible job. Of course, the police department too. I mean, many of these people that came up here echo the same thing I have said many times is you feel safe when you lay down your head at night in this neighborhood. And, you know, the police department does an incredible job as well. So thank you to them as well. And yes, Knobcast is over. 2 of my boys were up here. My daughter was having a sleepover tonight, so she didn't come. But my 6-year-old, it was his first year swimming, and he does kind of look like he's drowning doing the backstroke, but he's coming along quite nicely. So I'm very thankful to the team coaches for saving him daily. But other than that, hopefully next year we'll have a better backstroker as well.
Absolutely.
I just want to echo everyone's comments. My heart goes out to everyone in Sapphire and the Bay House. It's just horrifying listening to your stories, and I've lived here all my life, and I've watched them continue to put stick on a face, as they say. And I'm really hoping after 30, 40 years, we can finally move forward in the right direction. But like Sarah said, please give us some patience, and we have to go through the right avenues. I'll be keeping y'all in our thoughts and prayers as we move forward. The hurricane preparedness meeting, the next one is scheduled for next Tuesday right here in council chambers, so there should be plenty of room for everyone. It's scheduled 6:30 to 8 p.m. There'll be food, snacks, work runs, and understanding, so please come out and join us. National Night Out is scheduled for Tuesday, October 1st, I believe. So I'm hoping to work with the police chiefs and our first responders, leading everyone out. And if anyone is interested in becoming a block captain for that evening, please reach out. I'm hoping to put an article in the newsletter this month. So that'll be a fun night, getting to know neighbors and hopefully prepare for the hurricane along with them. Like Lucy said, back to school starts this Wednesday. Please slow down, be careful, and mindful of our children and buses. Allow some extra time in the morning, and remind us the speed limit is 25 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. I think we all know officers use follow the buses, so we'll be out and about, so be on your best behavior. Palo Peninsula event, I know Jim Stoda spoke up, that's gonna be a lot of fun coming up. In conjunction with that, I'm gonna reach out to Camp Hope and hopefully also get a men's clothing drive, you know, in order that same weekend. I know the men need clothes, especially collared shirts, they return to normal society, so hopefully that's gonna be something new, so more details to come. And then I guess one thing on hurricane preparedness, I was gonna mention it last meeting, and I think Joyce Abby mentioned it in her email to us, that if the residents don't have that little Compass Rose sticker for your dashboard, you can come over to the police window over here and talk to Tiffany. It's just a free, you know, Compass Rose sticker. It looks like a registration sticker, so it's helpful when we do have hurricanes, like during Hurricane Ike. We block up all the entrances, but if you have that sticker plus your ID, right, able to gain access to your home. So just a, you know, a good thing to have on your car. It might get you out of a ticket and get a warning instead too. And no insurance, but it might. And then lastly, and sadly, we just lost another former Nassau Bay resident, Commander John McBride, last week. He was an American Naval officer, test pilot, astronaut, administrator for NASA. So I just ask that you keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Let me chime in. I got a couple of things, and I know just how tough it is to come up, but I also know that almost 40 people from the Sapphire have now come forward to step up and say there's a problem. That's over 10% of the apartments. And one of the things I want everyone to feel confident about is that we actually have a lever here to bring hopefully relief and justice to your living conditions. I don't think anybody believes you should be living in a situation like you're living. And we've had numerous meetings where not only are we making sure that we have the legal authority, but we're dedicating the resources. We've cleared people's schedules so that we have the ability to execute on the things. Because at the end of the day, we can come here, we can talk, we can commiserate, empathize, and things like that. But if we're not doing the actual actions to bring relief, then this is just going to happen again. And to me, I was part of seeing the 8 places. I just cannot see how we can let a situation like that, continue in our city. So from that standpoint, I think you're going to see this council in particular act very strongly. We've got resources at City Hall that we're going to act as decisively as we can, and you're going to start seeing action as early as this week to be able to begin the process where we can actually lock out their ability to rent because of public health. We're going to start locking them out. That even goes into areas like common chiller systems, because those apartments are not singular air conditioning units, they're common. So we appreciate everybody going there. Again, I heard somebody say our priority was the Sapphire. No, it was where we started. And if we have a methodology and a mechanism by which to bring relief, bring justice, and to make sure they make it a safe place to live for their tenants, then we will run that play everywhere it matters, and we will take it to its end, and I can guarantee you that. The other, going on. So again, I just thank everybody and be patient, but also hold our feet to the fire, because we are moving to execute. Don't let us go. So keep coming here, keep doing this, because this is how we get alignment in that, and it'll work. People talked about the hurricane in Beryl. We had lots of trials and tribulations, but we actually cleared things out better than most cities. But my point here tonight is today is the beginning of rush hour for hurricanes. There's already another disturbance down in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico. This is for our area where we get the most amount of hurricanes between now and end of September, with the peak being that 2-week period in the middle of September. So please, you got a warning this time around what you need to do. Make sure you have a plan. If it's a stronger hurricane, you can see what a Category 1 did. I think if it's a Category 3 or a Category 4, it's not something to take lightly. It's not something to wait for the last minute. Have your plan and make sure you execute on it. Lastly, I'm really glad to see that we got the marine ordinance on there. There's going to be a lot more comments on there. And I can even mention the dilemma that we have. The dilemma is, and I know what Mark was talking about 30 years ago. It was 1994 when we had the last modification done. But at that time, about 80-90% of the people out on the water were Nassau Bay citizens. Today, 95+ are from mainly League City and others. there's almost no Nassau Bay people that are out on our residential waterways. Almost nobody. Just here, if you were out on the water, we had one of those Louisiana swamp boats. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's the airboats, and they don't make much of a wake. They do make a little bit, and under our excessive weight, it doesn't get caught. But that boat was doing 30, 40 miles per hour. It was going around, and what was even worse is it decided to want to do a Louisiana swamp go-kart on our peninsula. And it didn't do it just for one day, didn't do it for just 2 days, didn't do it for just 3 days. It did it for actually 6 days. And our police and the fire and the rescue boat finally caught up with them and was able to arrest the guy. But the challenge is that we've got people from League City back in 1994. There was only 20,000 people there. There's 130,000 people there now. We are a playground, and it's not 20, 30 boats. Just yesterday, there were 53 boats out there when that swamp boat came by through there. There's 150 people in the water. Glenn, I really appreciated your comments when you said things, because there's a good reason why we're only making the exception between 7 and 12, because there are way too many people out there. For anybody who thinks there's only 20, 30 boats that are out there, or just hasn't been out there. And it's just not safe for people after about noon, not for me. And it's just out of control when you have 80 to 100 boats, 200, 250 people out there, and say you can go 30 miles an hour through our waterways. And we are the last private waterway that residential waterway that allows for high speeds in the residential. And you'll find out when we get here, the only thing we're doing is saying that if you're going to come into residential waterways, you just have to come in slow. There's nothing more, nothing less. So from that standpoint, I'm actually looking forward to this. It's been I think there were 45, 50 people who came out to just really say, please help, please do something. The police said, hey, we've got a problem. It's ambiguous. We want to make it absolutely clear. So it's time to make it safe. In regards to the fire investigation, right now, I know there was some advanced copies. We haven't seen it on council. That actually, I think it was distributed, but I think we actually have to receive that, and I believe we're going to have a special session just to make sure, because we really want to go over that. And I do appreciate the fire department. I really believe they're the crown jewel of our city. What they do here to save people's lives, but also people don't realize they save us about $1.5 million a year. And even Tom would say I'm being underestimating the cost. So I really value the fire department and what they do. Lastly, watch the school children. There's a lot of kids, and particularly out in front of the apartments here. That's usually Children Central for the school buses, and Hank Hughes will certainly close things down. So he's a zero tolerance person in that regards. So with that, I want to move on. Those are the end of my comments and the reports from staff and committees, starting with the city manager report.
Thank you. Been very, very busy. Last month was just focused on the recovery of the hurricane and getting all the documents to FEMA so we can get reimbursed for all that, all the work that was being done. We have a massive tree trimming project underway in the city. We have 2 part-time employees that are dedicated just to tree trimming for about 3 months, Monday through Thursday. So first time we ever did something like that. Pretty excited about that. Next month, we will be bidding our new water line from Saturn all the way to the Hilton, about 5,000 feet. The basketball court is closed for 2 weeks for painting of the floor. And then we do have the sidewalk project at Swan Lagoon Park and the concrete improvements at Founders Park. And so on the,
Hey, guys, let me just write that one.
and so on the 18410 Kingstown Court, there was the safe built inspector that was able to take a look. This was, with all the hurricane and everything, on July 29th. Did see some interior sheetrock removed, studs replaced, and a few electrical boxes being added, but it's not up to what we agreed on. So now we'll have the meeting that's going to kick off everything. So was able to get something done there. And then also just some of the residents that are here from the Sapphire did get an email list Friday afternoon. I think I replied back trying to schedule walkthroughs with all that. And then also yesterday morning. And so with that, about 2 weeks ago, I promoted Elias, project manager, as an interim public works director to give me a hand because I just can't keep doing it all by myself. So anyway, pretty excited about everything. And if you emailed me, then I will reply to it if I haven't already. So just a lot of good things happening. So that's all I have there.
Yep. Please.
All right, good evening, everyone. Sergeant Crowder. Meeting the crime stats for July 2024. We had 363 calls for service, 68 reports taken, 149 traffic stops, 85 citations, 89 written and verbal warnings, 18 arrests, 15 of those arrests were misdemeanors, including felonies. For patrol mileage, we had 5,314. Average response time was 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And also, Sergeant Jason Bain received his Master Peace Officer certification from the Commission, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. The Master certification is the highest certification officer received in the state of Texas. Sergeant Bain has joined the Nassau Police Department for almost 8 years and has a total of 10 years of law enforcement experience. He holds an associate's degree and over 1,000 hours of service training.
Thank you. EMS, or actually I should say.
Yeah.
Volunteer, fire. I think it should be fire.
Yeah, so your volunteer fire department stats for last month, we have 42 members on roster. We ran 56 calls, thanks to Carol. And then also our man hours for last month were 2,751. Again, mostly thanks to Carol for 4th of July.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I don't think there's input from you.
No, sir.
Yep. So Public Works.
This is first time, so give them a little break.
You need to baptize them.
Good evening, my name is Elias. As Paul mentioned, I've recently been promoted to interim public works director, so thank you for the opportunity. Public works in our capital improvement projects, on the wastewater side, the new blower was installed, and the electricians ran conduit this morning, and we'll be rewiring later this week. So on the boom part, contractors began work on the 88 sidewalk project. For our water department, the leaded copper pipe identification program is in progress and will continue until October 2024. For the wastewater, 600 feet of sewer line was jetted to improve flow and capacity. For 3 water main repairs, really also 2 on day 1 and 1 on lookout. Harris County installed a sampler for its wastewater surveillance program to test for the presence of COVID-19 at the wastewater plant. And for our parks department, they assisted in the 4th of July parade, which was a huge success. And 2 part-time employees were hired to assist with tree trimming throughout the city. So,
Just a couple, because with hurricane season coming up, the gas-driven pump for right there at Prince William and Upper Bay Road, when is that going to be operational?
So the inlet was installed. They poured the concrete. It's just a matter of going in and hooking up all the connections.
How long do you think that'll be?
Our street supervisor was off last week, so he just came back today, so I can get a schedule for him. But we'll get the guys back on it.
Because if we have the power on, the generator on Port Royal and we have this gas driven, that allows us to have, pumping now at 2 stations, if there's a power outage.
And I got a text of the picture of the box that was put in for the hydraulic line, so that's completed, so.
One last thing too, just a request, because now that we've done, could we get the street sweepers out there again? Because, that'll not only clean up there, but it keeps all that debris out of our sewers for any kind of storm,
So we do have that in plans, so we got the.
if we can sooner rather than later. And I know there's a lot of things going on, but I'm really wanting to make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's for anything with hurricane rush hour coming up.
And just real quick, Mayor, on that, I did sign a contract, and it's part of the recovery process, so we're gonna get reimbursed for that.
Good,
So, yeah.
excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Do we have anything for code enforcement?
No, sir. Tony had a previous.
Yeah, okay.
I'll send a report.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
We've had a resignation. How soon do we expect to fill it?
We've already, I believe they've already put the position out on our website. I'll double check on that. And so the police department is going to actually help with code enforcement. It'd be all the high grass, junk vehicles and all that. And Tony is going to be dedicating all his time to the mold issues.
Okay, and so do we expect that person might come up through the ranks of the police department, or is that going to be an outsider?
We don't know at this time.
Thank you.
Special events committee?
Nothing to report from that fantastic committee.
Yeah, 'cause we already talked about 4th of July. You got your rest period now. You guys are recuperating. Planning commission?
Due to publishing guidelines, we did not have a meeting in August. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 3rd.
September 3rd. Thank you, Rod. Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting also because we didn't want to stress out public works after the hurricane, and also because of the budget preparation. So we're going to save most of it for the budget meeting, and we'll have another meeting in September.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, and looking at these, we have 2 items: the consideration and possible action to approve the minutes, particularly the EDC special meeting minutes of May 1st, 2024, and the EDC workshop meeting minutes of July 1st, 2024, as well as the consideration and possible action to approve the annual work plan and EDC proposed budget as amended if required for fiscal year 2025. Is there anybody want any of these pulled out? Any questions before we move to the consent?
Only one that I had was the July 1st one. I didn't see like any motions or seconds or anything like that.
In the minutes?
Yeah. I didn't see any.
Can you follow up with that? And would you pass
It's
with
just like
that?
a half page thing.
It was very short.
I just want to make sure that we're.
Capturing
Yeah.
who did the motions. And it was a very quick meeting, if I remember.
Yeah, I was like, very brief, but.
Yeah, but I think that your point's well taken. Yep. We did. Even though-
I don't think, was that the meeting that I wasn't, was that the meeting, Tracy, you remember that? Maybe I wasn't there. Remember I tried to zoom in and it was like 6 minutes long and.
It was.
No,
This one was about an hour long.
Okay,
It
never
was,
mind.
it was.
There was one that went by in
About
5 minutes.
58 minutes, but.
No, I didn't.
Because that was the workshop. Right, so if you could add
That was a workshop.
the workshop, add the motions. There may not have been motions because it was all.
Right, there aren't any motions.
Motion, just review that and float a draft for Jason.
Okay.
That'll be fine. I would hope we could approve even, with that change. If people like, let me just put it that way. Anything else? Any other questions? Then I need a motion.
I would move to approve the consent agenda items 7.1 and 7.2 with the addition of the motions on that July 1st.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Paula. All those in favor, I'm going to call for the vote. Passes 7-0. Next is moving on to our old business. This is consideration and possible action. This is the second and final reading of the ordinance number 2024-07-24A, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, creating a maritime safety committee and providing that said committee shall consist of 5 Nassau Bay residents who shall serve for the number of years, terms, rules, regulations, standards, and laws relevant or appropriate to the City of Nassau Bay. The chief of police, the fire chief, or their designees shall also serve as ex officio members to advise council as to marine and waterway safety for related topics and regulations.
Can we discuss?
We certainly can.
Did we receive applications? Because I only reached out to one person that I thought should be on the committee,
So-
but I didn't see anything else.
I believe we received 3 applications so far. I think right now, if you think of the process that we have, we need to create it. And then this is something that, because it's right now, they're getting ready to do the Compass Rose. This should be a front page, thing where it says, hey, this is just newly created. And for those interested in those positions, please submit, because we said we want to have both the publication on Compass Rose as well as publications on our website and Facebook in order to make sure we get visibility before actually populating the membership of the committee.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I, for some reason, assumed.
We've had 3.
Yeah, okay.
And it's one is Mark Denman, one is Don Matter, and one is Brian Brown. Those are the 3 that I know.
Formal application?
Formal application.
The only question I have is, I know we talked about assigning deadlines for those applications, so just want to make sure that's still on the table.
Yeah, so let's talk about that right now. If I pull up the calendar.
So Mayor, that has gone to the Compass Rose for advertising through.
Can't hear you.
Oh, that has gone to the Compass Rose to be advertised in this September issue for the month of September.
Good,
The
so this is-
deadline of September 30th to receive applications.
For deadlines, September 30th?
Yes.
I think that's a little too long, right?
The next council meeting would be in October,
September 9th.
September 9th,
So I would like to see the deadline be like September 6th.
September 6th.
So that let people chime in here. I'm
So it was in September Compass Rose, but not the August, is what you're saying?
Well, it was sent to the Compass Rose to be published for the September issue. The applications are to be received through the end of September. September 30th is the last day that people can submit their application.
I think the intent on council was that we'd be in a position to fill the membership by next council meeting, which would be by the 9th.
We should be receiving the applications between now and then.
Yeah, but in the Compass Rose, because it
Yes.
hasn't gone out, I mean, it still has, the button hasn't been pushed yet. So,
The deadline was, I believe, the 10th.
but my understanding is that the button still hasn't been pushed. So from that
Reach out to
standpoint,
them.
yeah, this would be an important one. And particularly if we're saying, if it's already in the 30th, it'd be confusing if we then populate, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks.
Like I talked to Davina this morning, of course, while I'm here because I was at the National Night Out article, I was late. She said we have until tomorrow morning to work or anything. for the
Yeah,
next newsletter. The only problem is that newsletter is not going to be received by citizens until early September. So if we don't go that route, then we're relying on other forms of social media, the website. Maybe we send out a rate alert to say, hey, applicants, we want to get any sooner. But I'll be honest with you, I read the Compass Rose, don't know social media person, but
Yep.
I mean, just want to make sure
So
everyone's.
let me just touch it. I mean, do people want a gear to populate that membership on the 9th? Do you want to wait till October?
When will people be receiving that kind of service in their water bill?
So it'll be really early September. It'll be somewhere depending on exactly the things. It'll be between the 2nd and the 5th.
And I don't know that everyone receives,
So it'll be early that week and we're the following Monday.
Yeah.
So you want to do it October?
I mean, I think you give them a deadline of, and then deal with it in the October meeting. I think that's probably.
Okay.
I just don't think that that's not time for people to get
Yeah,
out.
just means we have another month, to populate it. Okay. Okay.
Is there a standard, just typical timeline that we should put out there for today?
So actually, this is a discipline that we haven't done in the past. So actually, no. I mean, we started it here, this year, but there's only this year's history in that regard.
Was this previously advertised?
Yes. I believe it was.
I think it was. I'd have to double check.
Because if it's in a previous one,
If it's in a previous one,
then
Rose and I don't.
people already have enough notice, and then we just give an additional notice on it. The September one.
I'm not aware if it was.
Do we have a Compass Rose up there? Can somebody go quick? Compass Rose. It's right on the counter.
Because if that's the case, if someone's already.
I thought it had.
I think so.
Maybe
I
we
thought
should
it had
last
Compass
reminder
Orange.
on this September one, we could change it until tomorrow morning, and then we could try to populate it.
That could work. I mean, I would like to do it sooner rather than later, as long as we think we're being judicious to the time to have people who want to participate sign up.
I'm not seeing it in the August one.
I think.
Is that the
I
end?
think it was in the July one.
Nope.
It wasn't in July.
Not
It
in
was
the
not?
August.
Do we know if it was in the July one? I said, it's in August.
No.
I don't think it would have been because we did our first reading.
It was in July.
It was or was
It
not?
says Maritime Safety Committee. Cities accepting applications from the Maritime Safety Committee, please submit applications online, the link, you click on board, so it doesn't give a time frame.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I would ask that we just give a final notice in the September one, and then we can move forward with.
Final notice by when though? Do you want it by the
By the
6th?
6th.
Yeah, I would say the 6th. I like that. I would prefer that. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Then any further discussion, any further, questions for agenda item 8.1? Then I call for I need a motion.
I would move to approve an ordinance of the city council of the city of Nassau, Bay, Texas, creating a maritime safety committee and providing that said committee shall consist of 5 Nassau Bay residents who shall serve with a number of years, terms, rules, regulations, standards, or laws relevant or appropriate to the city of Nassau Bay. The chief of police and fire chief or their designees shall also serve as ex officio members to advise council as to community and water safety related topics and regulations.
Second.
Seconded by Paula. Any last questions? Any last comments? Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Next, agenda item 8.2, consideration and possible action, second and final reading of ordinance number 02024-07-24B, an ordinance amending ordinance number 94-437 of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, to amend Chapter 22 Waterways, Article 2, Water Safety Regulations, Sections 22, 23, definitions, Sections 22 through 27, voting regulations C and I of the Municipal Code of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, and providing a penalty.
I just wanted to add one thing to my motion that we voted on. That's ordinance number 02024-07-248.
Say that again, please.
He just put an ordinance number
Oh, okay.
for the previous one.
Okay.
So now we're on
Okay.
24B
Gotcha.
instead of 24A. So yeah, I mean, again, this is a second reading. The two things that this does is the only restrictions, it says in our residential waterways, it will be a no wake zone. So the only thing this restricts is anybody going fast and creating wake coming in and out of our residential waterways. And it preserves between 7 and 12 the every day for the ability to water ski. And any activity that's pulled by a boat.
Yeah, so I'll just start off with, the only thing that's ever really bothered me about the ordinance is the fact that we're creating this committee, but we're passing an ordinance before the committee ever has a chance to really meet, convene, speak to the public safety, the NBFD and NBPD that kind of work these waterways. So I just really wish that we would give this in the hands of the citizens and public safety officials in our neighborhood to handle it, because I just feel like, we have some very qualified people that are applying to be on this committee and deserve to have a hand in the creation of an ordinance that permanently changes our waterway in our neighborhood. I agree with the sentiment that it's not the same as it was, well, not that I was here 50 years ago, but from what I'm told.
You mean born 50 years ago?
From what I'm told. From what I'm told, it's very different. I mean, that's very expressed that, it used to be a lot less busy, and there weren't a bunch of boats from outside of the neighborhood sitting here. So I have kind of a creative solution. I just want to put it out there. What we could do, I know the mayor's concerned about the Labor Day weekend and making sure that it's safe for Labor Day weekend. You can, with ordinances, you can add something called a sunset provision, where you say, hey, this ordinance is good, but after 60 to 90 days, it basically disappears. And then that would allow the committee to create their own or convene and kind of speak with law enforcement and NBFD and kind of say, okay, do we really want to do this permanently? Is there another creative solution? Is the use of the term rope in the ordinance concerning? Because I know Ashley mentioned that people wake surf without a rope, so that wouldn't really protect them. So, that's my creative solution to handling this. Because I do understand the safety concerns, and I certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt on Labor Day weekend.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah.
Yes, Labor Day is something, because that's going to be a big one, and it's there. But I also, there was a very broad, very well attended, very well communicated workshop where a number of us were there. There had to have been easily 45 people in attendance from all demographics in our city, whether it's young families in the marina, people who are on the water, people who were just boaters. It was extremely well attended. It had the police, it had the fire. It was pretty much packed with people, not as much as the hurricane one, but it was very clear that the one thing that they wanted to have done was to slow people down coming in, that we had lost control of our waterways, and that with as many people that are out there, the speed by which people come in on cigarette boats and things along that line, that made it. And in addition, the police said it was very difficult for them to be able to manage with, what is an excessive weight, like I mentioned with the Louisiana Swamp Boat. They all wanted this to be done, and I think we all said it was in our power to do and to be able to bring that relief to people. So I feel like we've made some obligations to people, particularly in that meeting, and I think I even relate this similarly to like what we did with short-term rentals. And you have to put something out there, and then we created a short-term rental committee, but you have to start somewhere and then you modify as you go. And I'm amazed at how many people had been against short-term rentals to begin with, but then once we got the committee and once we go on, how many people actually now really look at that as a means by which to manage that issue. And it worked extremely well.
So I've got a few things here. So I went back and looked at the minutes from that workshop, and it lists immediately off focus and discussion that the Cove is a residential waterfront community. Issue was noise, speed, weight discussion, rafting concerns. There was concerns about weight and speed. So it continues to have a lot of discussion about the weight issues, the speed issues, and it talks about rafting there as well. And then I think that just kind of goes to show that there is a lot of people in this community that want to make sure that we're out there protecting them. And I would hate to see us to delay that. I mean, we're still in the middle of summer. We all live in Texas. We know it's going to be hot till December potentially. So people aren't going to be out there for a couple of weekends. It's going to be periods of time. And then also, I mean, yes, we just created this Marine committee, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think committees advise us, we shouldn't be dictated what we should or should not do at this point based on the committee that was just created and could potentially come up with some ideas. We still, as a council and mayor, still have a duty to this community to provide safety. And we already had a workshop. We had that done several months ago. And like I said, there's weight and speed concerns. Rafting shows that there's people that are in that area that need to be protected. And if there's, airboats out there, there's boats that are speeding, there's people doing donuts out there in boats. I couldn't think of an idea if I knew we were out there trying to protect them. Now, a committee that we just created is going to have an opportunity to review this ordinance and say, hey, yeah, we think it's good, or hey, we think it's not good. But this is the information that we have in front of us right now, and we have a duty as a council to make sure that our residents are safe. And it's not just our residents, it's also people that are coming in from this vicinity that are enjoying our community, enjoying our property. And I think we have a duty to them as well to make sure that they're staying safe. So I think that the concerns that were brought up in that committee, or not the committee, but the workshop about speed enforcement and weight, Chief Cromie talked about the fact that it's hard to enforce an excessive weight. What does that mean? It's 18 inches, I believe is what they said, but you go out there in the water, you measure 18 inches. It's not going to be very easy to do that. So I agree that we do need to have some kind of measurable, and a no wake zone is extremely easy to measure. It's either a wake or it isn't. And I think we all know that as a community that's on the water, what that is. I couldn't tell you what an excessive wake is. So that's my 2 cents on that. And I think by going forward with this ordinance now, put something on the books and gives that Marine Committee an opportunity to evaluate that along with other safety concerns. And I do appreciate the sunset provision. However, my only concern with that is, we put in a 60-day, 90-day notice or something of that sort. Well, what happens if the committee has to come back and say something at that point? We would have to either extend that, or we have to revisit it at a later time. I think putting it on the books now, giving the committee an opportunity to evaluate that and come up with something that's lasting and permanent, may be more efficient than kicking the can down the road. So I appreciate the creativity. I think that's what everyone here is wanting to do to make sure we have something. And I think that this ordinance provides that safety that we have duty to provide for our citizens and neighboring residents.
I agree with Chase, and I think one of our problems is we should be making data-driven decisions. And I feel like this time frame will give us some data. Are the police happy with the way we defined it? How many citations did they give? What did they find on the water? And so it not only gives us data, but it will give the committee data to understand the safety concerns. And I think speed in the water is always a safety concern, especially when we have young children hanging out, swimming around. So I'd like to see us pass this ordinance, and yet we still know that the committee can come back and make suggestions. The departments can say, this didn't work, we couldn't get our boats out, we didn't support the ordinance, we supported the ordinance. So I like the idea of passing this, knowing that it's an ordinance that can change in a short period of time. So I'm going to support it.
My recollection from the meeting, I went to the workshop. And like I said, it was a creative solution. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I mean, I do with wanting to keep everybody safe, but I'm not a big voter. So, my thought of it is it's it's kind of a significant historical change to the neighborhood. So that was my only, thought, as my creative thought. And also, I'm always in favor of giving power to people that live here who, people that are actually on the cove all the time in their boats. And area as far as like they're out there. These hopefully committee members. So, my recollection from that meeting was there was a huge amount of complaints about noise. I do remember one guy complaining about the weight and what it does to his bulkhead, and how he has to replace his bulkhead like every 10 years instead of he thinks if there's a no wake zone, it'll be every 30. So I do remember that comment. It was just, like I said, a creative solution to maybe put some power in the hands of committee members. And I suppose if it does, it's going to pass. So when it does, we'll see if it does fix these problems that we're seeing. And if it doesn't, then the committee can find
I agree with you there. I mean, the two things were speed, I put speed and weight together because they did it, and noise.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we said was because people recreate out there. I mean, it was even talking about with noise, you put rafting and things on. And we really didn't want to go that far. We just wanted to put in the basic, the safety system, the first thing. And then talk about it, see what happens, see what it does.
And I think the key is having officers out there. That's the biggest thing. I mean, there just has to be some presence, which means you might need to have some officers.
I think I agree with that. Presence is the first thing. That's the first deterrent, right? So an officer can be there, can be present, but I think it would be a lot more valuable if there is something that they can enforce.
Yeah.
So if there is presence, great. If there's something that they can actually do, and people are like, hey, I can't go to Nassau Bay and have all this weight going on, they're going to take it, they're going to find it, they're going to do what they can. I think that's the second step.
Case in point, it's like for the first day, people were looking at that swamp boat, just to give them a real life example. But the day they got it, they actually arrested the guy out of the water in the cover, and they towed that boat with the lights on. And I think that probably did great basis to send the message that our cops are gonna start enforcing laws, and I think everybody cheered out there. So.
I'll go next, and I'll first comment that I'm from Louisiana, so not all swamp boats are from
Hey, they're the
Louisiana.
Cajun Navy, come on.
I know, but there are other swamp boats outside of Louisiana. I can see both sides of this. I appreciated Mark's comments around the history of Nassau Bay, and I think I struggle with the same thing as Sarah does, changing something that's been present. And Ashley, growing up learning water skiing, I'm curious to hear your input on this. I also see the safety aspect of this. I am out on the water all the time. I do not water ski per se. But there are times when I see bigger yachts and other things, particularly in the dredge portion with the poles and you're being slapped to the side and you don't have a lot of room to begin with. And so I do like Sarah's suggestion of this sunset to allow the committee to review it. I think we established a committee to have this input from our community and what the residents are feeling. I do also remember the Marine Committee meeting talking a lot about noise. I think that's how we started off, and it kind of evolved into wake and speed. Clearly, there's some people in here with feelings on the way they're going, and so I just want to appreciate what Sarah said. I think it's a good consideration. And outside of that, safety's first for me always.
Or our mom is thinking outside the box, so just think outside the box.
Ashley?
I'm not gonna lie, this one, near to my heart, like I mentioned before. I'm completely torn. Mark, I really appreciate your comments and insights. I remember fighting with Weston to, get us to have the wake out there, and, I want the opportunity to have a lot of recreational sports out there. And I'm not 100% in favor, but I do believe, and I support the mayor and others up here, that we need to tighten things up. I firmly believe that we've been promoting and encouraging enforcement of our current ordinance in recent years. We want to be in the predicament that we're in today. I hope and expect to see a much greater police presence in the fire department. Tom, I know you're out there. Enforcement of our existing laws going forward. We paid a lot of money for the police boat. It's a beautiful, beautiful boat. If y'all have not seen it, it's top notch. And hoping we can really have it sitting out there and just have it come to the waterfront. And like I said, the current environment is not what it was 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, party code just did not exist. And, I see it firsthand, sitting at my parents' house, many weekends. It's just not safe. So I really feel like we need to take action and do something now. I don't think anything we put in place is permanent. I do want to err, for the committee on fine tuning the ordinance. We talked about the wave server, that definitely needs to get baked in at some point. And then I know Mark brought up the jet skis, jet skis, those also need to be allowed out there as well. So, I'm all for, passing it, but knowing that there's a lot of work to be done. And this, sunset ordinance thing, I think is definitely something we should entertain, not only perhaps now, but also in other ordinances going forward. So, thanks.
If we sunset this, does it take it back to first reading and it wouldn't be in place before Labor Day weekend?
That's exactly, if we do it, go back to first reading. Because it's a substantial change.
It's the same ordinance.
It's a big ordinance, but it's the same ordinance, but it's a substantial change. I can't say it's not. It puts a short life on what would ordinarily be an unlimited life. I can't rule it the other way.
Any other questions, any other comments?
Just briefly, I don't have my 2 cents on this thing. I think it's something that needs to go forward. It does have, a little cutout for those activities to take place in a certain period of time. It's not like that's going away forever. To go to the historic aspect of it, I've lived in Nassau Bay for 4 years, so I don't have a lot of history here. But I will say that I do know, I grew up in this area. I've lived here since, I guess, in this vicinity since 1986. And the population has grown exponentially. The types of boats that are on water now have changed drastically. So there's his history has its time and place, but I think right now we need to address the issues that are in front of us.
Any other questions, any other comments?
I just want to add one thing. I've lived on the water since '88 here. Most of the severe accidents have been caused by speed. And so speed always worries me. It also worries me that we have something here in Nassau Bay that while we'd like to share it with the communities, I'd like to see it first and foremost for Nassau Bay. And so by making sure that the people who come here that use our waterways are aware of our laws, come in safely and follow the rules, that those things are important to me. So I'd like to give this ordinance a try, and again, I'm going to support it for now, and if it changes with the committee, I'll be happy to support the changes they recommend. So that's where I am.
Any other comments, any other questions?
I do like your comment about getting some data behind what we're doing too, so.
I know we've already commented on the police staff, but I know we're in budget season, and it is important if we're gonna try to enforce anything out there, we need to have presence on that road. Like, on a regular basis, not on just holiday
Which is the plan. Then I need a motion.
I would move to approve ordinance number 02024-07-24B, an ordinance amending ordinance number 94-487, of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, to amend Chapter 22 Waterways, Article 2, Water Safety Regulations, Section 22-23, Definitions, Section 22-27, Voting Regulations C and L, the Municipal Code of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, and providing the penalty.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Ashley Beach. Seconded by Ashley. Any other comments? Any other? Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? It passes 7-0. Moving on to 8.3, consideration and possible action. This is the second and final reading of an ordinance number 2024-07-24C, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, amending the City of Nassau Bay Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8.5, Flood Damage Prevention, Section 8.5 to 21, Flood Administrator to appoint the City Manager as Floodplain Administrator, and to allow the City Manager to appoint a designee to serve as Floodplain Administrator, repealing conflicting provisions, providing for severability, proper notice, and meeting and establishing an effective date. Paul, did you want to make any comments here?
No, sir.
So, Any other questions, any other comments?
Who is this person gonna direct their comments to? Who will they be under? Will it be under the city manager, under the building department, and will both departments be involved?
I think this fixes a gap, which actually makes Paul the actual floodplain administrator, and he then has the ability to appoint one if he so desires. But right now, it makes it Paul. And it's this is necessary, particularly within our elevation program that's coming up, that we really need to have this cleared up to make sure that there's no concern from FEMA as to how we are actually coming to decisions, and we need to clean it up. It's Jason Reynolds one.
I'm just worried about Paul.
I know. I want to go to something.
Yeah.
Paul is create a permanent designee.
That's funny.
That's right, yeah.
That's funny. Any other questions? Any other comments? Then I need a motion.
I will move to approve ordinance number 2024-07-34C and ordinance of the city council of the city of Nassau, Texas, amending the city of Nassau ordinances, chapter 8.5, flood damage prevention, section 8.5-21, flood administrator to appoint the city manager as floodplain administrator and to allow the city manager to appoint the designee to serve as floodplain administrator, repealing conflicting provisions, providing for severability, proper notice, meeting, and establishing for an effective date.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Paula. Any other further questions? Because I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Moving on to new business. This is 9.1, consideration and possible action to accept tax year 2024 truth in taxation for the following items: anticipated collection rate, debt taxes collected in excess for preceding year, and the total amount of refunds for preceding year. And this was on the consent, but I wanted to take some time for people to go through again what this truth in taxation is.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents. I'm requesting acceptance of tax year 2024 truth in taxation for the following items. If you look at the tax assessor collector letter, it's included in your packet. You can see what those items are. So the items are the anticipated collection rate, the debt taxes collected in excess for preceding year, and total amounts of refunds for preceding year. All three of these components are used in the tax rate calculation. The anticipated collection rate and the debt taxes collected in excess of preceding year will be used to calculate the debt rate and also the voter approval rate. And the refunds for preceding year, that will help us calculate the tax year 2023 levy, which will help us calculate the tax year 2024 no new revenue tax rate.
And just to chime in here why I wanted this is a really important one, and it gets lost in the fog sometimes, but the main part of there's two main areas that we're going to have to deal with on council, which is the state really puts forward where they give us a window. One is where we actually collect, regardless of how much our property values go up, they want the tax revenues to be the same. So our tax rate will go down in association with that so that there's just an equal amount of revenues. And then they give us a little bit of an operating window, and I don't want to go, it's like about 3.5%, maybe 3.9%. So you can go from 0 to 3.9 without having to go to the voters. And that's what this whole truth in taxation is. That's where you look at these percentages. And I just want everyone to have a heads up. That's where we're going with this as we get into the budget. He's going to end up there, but this is where it starts.
That's correct. We should be getting the certified tax documentation at the end of August. And that'll help us come up with their tax rate.
Yep. Okay.
So in addition, I have here from the comptroller, so I know this memo discusses refunds. So I have something for you guys on the type of refunds that are issued.
Yep. Other than that, this is actually housekeeping, but I wanted to take that time for the citizens as well as here on council as we go through this budget cycle. That's where we're headed. Any questions, comments? Then I need a motion.
I move that we accept the 2024 truth and taxation letter.
Do I hear a second? Second by Chase. I'm just going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. 9.2, consideration and possible action. This is a first reading of ordinance number 02024-08-12. There's something that's supposed to be after that? You know? 1, 2. It's not right now, but I believe there is, whatever. An ordinance of the city of council of the city of Nassau Bay, Texas, temporarily waiving building permit fees for all building inspection fees associated with the repair of property, homes, and businesses damaged from any hurricanes declared by the governor of Texas as an emergency disaster designation.
Oh, it's the letter A.
The letter
It's on the
A.
ordinance, yeah.
Yeah. And then, this was by the governor, or did we say that we needed to declare it also, the city?
No, this is by the governor, the way we wrote it.
Yeah, no, but I'm just wondering I don't know of any reason why we wouldn't if the governor did.
Right.
Yeah. Right, so I don't think we need to change this.
I don't think I'd change anything.
I mean, this doesn't have to go for another first reading. But again, this is just a first reading. Anybody have, again, this was based off, we have an obligation to do this in a disaster area, or if there's a disaster designation, this puts it on for everyone forevermore. And we don't have to go through this in order to make sure people know that these fees will be waived.
Does it have to be a hurricane?
No, it just is a disaster, emergency disaster designation. It could be a tropical storm.
It says
Could be.
hurricane.
Well, I thought at the end it says,
It's written
if
by
it's-
hurricane.
In the ordinance itself, in the packet.
yeah, it shouldn't be just hurricane.
Yeah, it says
You're right.
emergency disaster designated hurricane,
You wanted to cover all disasters?
Yeah,
or cross out hurricane.
could be a flood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Well, we can change it, but that's fine.
I think we do need, that's one.
Natural disaster.
This is first reading, we'll change it on first reading.
Do you think by just taking out the hurricane, it actually really changed? I guess it does, it changes the scope.
Yeah, well, you still, it's just first reading. I mean, if you want to, we'll make it work, it's broader than just hurricanes. We can do that for next time.
Okay.
Is there a difference in the level of disaster declaration, or is it any disaster declaration? Is there a difference? Like, can you declare like a major disaster or minor disaster?
No, they're not great.
It's a disaster, and that's that.
It's either a disaster or not.
Also, just want to say thanks to Ashley for bringing in this constant, not having to do this.
I agree.
So thanks.
I agree. I think it's a great idea.
So we make that change to broaden it.
And I think it should read Governor of Texas designated emergency disaster.
All right.
Okay.
And this is a good point to make to our public, that this is an opportunity for them to recognize that the council is trying to help them with fees during disaster times.
I'll do
It's a
another.
community.
I'll do another plug. This was July 8th, right? July was the Hurricane Beryl. So right now, what we passed earlier for that fee says you have 60 days from July 8th, that if you have any hurricane-related damage that you need to get a building permit, you have that waived. And this, thanks, I agree, Ash, I really think this was a great idea. It says we never have to do that individually. So, if this was in place and we have another hurricane, we wouldn't have to do it again. That way.
This is geared towards like a mass issue, like everyone's.
The disaster.
So would there be an instance where you would declare an emergency that the governor would?
That's what we're worried about. We were just discussing that. So like,
I mean, I had to declare the city a disaster area for hurricane, and I believe that's why I was asking that is we may have something here that the governor may not say the state of Texas, right?
I mean, we're on the coast, right, so we get hit harder than everybody else, and then there's a scenario where like Carroll did major damage to us, but if the city of Houston hadn't been dealing with all the power outages, they might not have declared that, you know what I mean? So I'm concerned that we're going for the larger umbrella when we should really be going for the smaller umbrella.
Or like, let's just say one day there's a BF4 tornado and it's like,
I mean, basically that
and it
would,
touches down only here.
so let me just say it this way, that says that this goes to the power of the mayor. And that's what we're saying, that means it's not the governor or the president, it's the power of the mayor.
I think that's the best time to protect our city, I think it's better to go to the mayor.
Okay.
Okay? Just to be clear, I just want to make sure.
You get all the power.
You got a hand or does it matter?
You can do both if you want.
Yeah.
That can probably be there.
I mean, I don't see a situation where the governor is going to declare a disaster area for our things that we do not.
Why don't you do
But I
all?
do
That's
see,
what- that's
I
what
do
I'm
see a
saying.
thing that
If you put a governor
we,
and or mayor,
yeah,
then it covers any kind of widespread issue or something that's just local to us. You could also make a declaration as well.
I would.
Covered by both.
I'd do it that way.
Are we going to, we don't want to put a number of days, oh, it is.
it's in there, it's 60
Okay,
days.
Sorry.
It's 60 days.
Lucy, what was your change?
Damaged by a governor of Texas or mayor of Nassau Bay designated emergency disaster.
Oh.
So move designated in front of emergency.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's a requirement for the mayor to be able to have their area participating in some of the
Okay.
FEMA-related things, so it's important.
Okay, hurricane comes out and those changes go in.
Okay, again, that just says this is going to be held over for another first reading.
Yeah, well, the
Yep,
second,
fair
for the
enough.
second, for the
Let's
second.
get it
reading.
right. Let's get it right.
Okay, you can do a second reading. You can do it either way. You can have a second reading or you can have another first reading. We'll do
Well,
that.
can't we just make, so we can just make this our first reading?
This could be your,
Right?
first. Yeah, we've done a first reading with modification.
Second. Oh. So that,
So that,
we're still in first reading, so we can modify.
so
Yeah.
can we? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
so we've done it.
Philip, a question. I know that we're on the first reading and we're not voting on this tonight for like permanent effect, but let's just say there's a hurricane next week. We can still make the choice to waive it.
Yeah, we can. But we would have to do a resolution to do that.
You'd have to do it one by one
Correct.
like we've done before.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
We-
I got it.
And like I said, I fully expect this council to do that.
Sure.
So that's why this is a great idea.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, that's being held over till September for a second reading. And then 9.3, hold a discussion and provide direction to staff regarding improvement to the city's live stream and video recording. Tom, you want to come up? This is, I actually, Tom reminded me of the system that we were talking about. It's the Swaggit, system that was the Cadillac of the systems at the time, and that was about 2 years ago when we did that. Brian, you were involved with that, and why don't you update us,
So-
Tom?
January of 2022, there was a task force that was created. This is myself, I think there's 2 council people, Ryan, and then 2 other citizens.
They were.
Went over it over a year, we did a lot of different things. And then in January of 23, January 9th, 2023, we had a council meeting. We came to the council meeting, we had 2 different solutions. One was the Swaggit system, which is you buy the equipment and then you pay them to manage and operate it. And then the other system was buy the equipment, city owns the equipment, find someone in-house to run it. It was left here that night that an RFQ would be created by some members of the council, and so things have been done with it since.
Yeah.
So updating to
Now.
August of 2024, that company in North was bought by Consensus or Granicus. That's what it is, Grancious. Granicus now owns that Swaggit system. So a little bit about these systems and the money that I think you got something. Did you see about that packet or someone?
Yes.
Yes.
We got it.
So hopefully you read that and you understand what PEG money can be used for.
when I say PEG money, that's money that's given to us by Comcast, it's like 1% of what they make. That money can be used to spend on hardware only. So if we want to buy the equipment, we have, I think, $93,000 in that account right now. We have plenty of money to buy the equipment. However, you cannot use it for services. So when you look at the Swaggit system, the quote on that back in 2022, I think was around 23,000 or.
I don't more than that.
And that 23 to 25,000 is probably obviously gonna be higher now. And you can't spend that at a PEG, that's gonna come out of your general fund. So those are things that need to be thought about. We don't need to get to spending more money out of the general fund. I think we have a lot of things that we wanna buy right now. So what I would recommend is that you create a new task force, that myself and some of the other employees, maybe Brian, since he's been there, we look around and see if there's another person. Let us look at this again. Even if you wanted to order a Swaggit type system, and there's numerous companies that'll do it, you're looking at 8 to 12 weeks. And like the city hall sign, they told me 4 to 6 weeks, it's now 14 weeks. So you know how that goes. It could be months before you could actually get in there. I believe that the current system is, like we said, junk. It doesn't work very. I think we agreed one night it is. We can make it work. It puts a lot of load on the person sitting in this seat. And we're pushing a lot of technology through one machine. There's a temporary solution that we could probably get in, rather quickly. We would need to bring in some outside contractors to help do it because I don't have time to run cables and stuff. But we could put in something maybe temporary that's better than this. But there's a lot of things that have to be looked at when you get into the system. Because you have meetings here, you have meetings there, and you have meetings there. So you can't just put in like one little camera and hope that it works. Plus there's a whole audio thing. You gotta be able to get the audio. So I think there's a way to do a temp system. Let us get into this task force, get a permanent solution in place, and then move forward with that. With the using primary PEG money, I'm not into spending more general fund money. So, but that there is a human interaction to this, no matter what system you get. It shouldn't be her. It should be some, I don't know, a volunteer from the community, a high school kid, somebody like that.
Let me ask you, maybe, to me, I thought we were also potentially looking at like a smell test where if you just took the Swaggit system and its things and just put out a request for proposal for people to get people just to see what comes back.
Are you talking about companies like doing an official RFQ?
Yeah, correct, based off the Swaggit system, because one of the things I remember, and Brian, I'll recognize you if because you were part of that, is people preferred the Swaggit system, but it was one where you had to buy their software, otherwise the machines don't work. And long-term, we were very uncomfortable with that. And that we wanted to see if there was a company that would provide for the similar, but would have more of a generic software. That means that we could own the equipment and still have a software rather than having them, that's the razor blade, you gotta use their, their razor blade, holder rather than buy the razor blades.
I think letting get back, maybe don't keep like the task force idea, bring it up. Let us hash out what's out there today. Let us see what, and we can go out for an official RFQ, but let's see what we want first. Let's write down that we want this feature, we want that feature, we want this feature. And then you're gonna have to do that.
What do people think?
I'm curious how much PEG money you would want to be spending for our temporary solution?
It's already spent. I have some of the equipment already. We're not talking about much money.
How much PEG funds do we actually have?
Getting someone in here to help you run.
I thought it was 90, right? That's what I remember.
93 in there right now.
90,000.
And it can only be spent on this.
Yeah.
And there is one other element of it. It has to be broadcast on channel 16.
Correct.
It has to.
Yep.
So we don't currently do that now, but it's not hard.
It's not hard.
Is this the same system where the secretary would use?
Potentially.
Have recording?
Yeah.
So she wouldn't have to take her time to,
Potentially, yes.
That would be great.
It would also make it easy for people to find minutes, to see it. I mean,
That's the services part of it.
I get it.
Past
I mean,
meetings.
You know,
I agree with you. I think you should write down the components you want and then do the RFP, because if you do it the opposite way, you're gonna get a bunch of stuff that's sift through.
I get those emails from those people every day. Granted, I get their email every day.
without doing them, and I don't know if we need an official one or not, because that'll take some time. But I mean, I'm just gonna say this is, Brian, you actually do a lot for rebroadcasting, live streaming. You're pretty technically savvy. Tom, you're there. I think the more people you put in, it's just gonna slow you down. And I think you guys can probably put your heads together and come up with some at least, operating window and boundaries for what needs to be done, and be able to come back pretty quickly to say a giggle test about what we want to do.
Is this 23 to 25,000, and how often?
A year. That was the estimate at the time.
Paid to
The provider of
Correct.
service.
Comcast?
No.
No.
I was like, how
Swag.
convenient.
I know Swaggit was a company that we were looking at the time, and they had provided that cost.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we will go back to Swaggit, because there's multiple companies that do this now.
They are.
They have been doing it. But that money, 20 to 30 grand, is gonna go to them out of your general fund.
So you're okay with you and Brian coming together?
I'm good with working with Brian. We did it before.
Yeah, you did it before. And you two are probably the most savvy. I mean, I was on that committee.
If he wants to,
quite
I mean,
honestly,
he might not want, you
that's
don't want
my
to work.
expertise, so. It's-
And
rather
we're
someone else-
desperate. I believe we're desperate. The more live streaming we do, for people to see, and also for all of us to be in a different place and be able to
Yeah, the
bounce
Zoom
into a
element
meeting.
really adds
It's
to
just
It does.
critical.
I mean, let's just name it and claim it. This is going to become the way of how things are going to be, right? And either we're part of it or we're not. And we're already behind it. I mean, last time, we were having all sorts of trouble. I know that there's issues with things. It's junk. I said it before. And it's stuff we struggle with. When it works, it's okay, but the problem is you got a 50-50 shot.
The technology that you have on this desk is to,
Yeah, correct.
and you know, technology changes. So we need to do something. Our station is well way ahead.
I don't think we need a motion on that here, because it was just a discussion. But I think you have a consensus on council, if you're willing to do that, that would be a real simple way just to get some stuff down on paper and then come back and then let's talk.
So I'm gonna, you're interested? Okay. I want to make sure. So I'm gonna see me and Brian, and then I'm gonna bring in Maria.
I would.
Probably Sherry, and then Jaime for the money. All right, because these are the people that are gonna have to manage this stuff.
Don't let him
They
tell you
need-
he
they
doesn't
need to
have
see it.
cash. Don't let him tell you that.
Oh,
I know
he's
he
noted.
speaks,
He's
and
on
I'm really
public
glad he
record. We got
speaks.
here
stuff
now,
like that,
93
you
grand,
know.
so. For equipment only.
All right.
For services, all right?
Okay, anything more? Then I'm gonna move on. The next item was to go into executive session. I had this open, but I talked with Paul. I think he's good. So we can actually avoid going into executive session. So I'd really like a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn by Chase, seconded by Ashley. All those in favor? We're done, folks, and it is 9:54. Yeah.